Chapter 2341. Swearin' G. Are you trying to rebel? Rage appeared on Mu Zifeng's face. This Swearin' G was not giving him any face at all. Mu Zifeng had already formed a contract with Xiaoqun. However, at the last step, Xiaoqun put him on the spot. Swearin' G ignored Mu Zifeng's rage and the other Doyan's anger. Swearin' G maintained a sinister expression. In any case, in Swearin' G's opinion, Xiaoqun was someone who repaid kindness with kindness and grudges with grudges. Xiaoqun was ruthless and vengeful. However, Xiaoqun's character was rather good. As long as Xiaoqun made a promise, Swearin' G would believe him. It looked like Mu Zifeng was about to give the order for the other foe gods and Doyans to attack Swearin' G together. Xiaoqun raised his hand to stop Mu Zifeng. He felt somewhat sorrowful in his heart. Swearin' G's threat made him feel some pity. This was the change of epochs. Even someone as strong as a foe god felt so uneasy and lowly. If it were in the past, Swearin' G would not have bothered with Xiaoqun when foe gods were aloof. However, Swearin' G now showed a cold expression, threatening a four-vein sovereign emperor jr. with words that cut off all means of retreat. How could a foe god do such an embarrassing thing in the past? Xiaoqun said calmly, "I can promise you that as long as you do not make a move against me, I will naturally not make a move against you. All the more, I will not touch your Heavenly Alliance descendants or other blood relatives." I was just waiting for you to say that. After hearing Xiaoqun's words, Swearin' G's expression instantly changed, revealing a faint smile. Mu Zifeng showed a sullen expression, ignoring Swearin' G's little tricks. He said softly, "Doyans, let's work together to open the seal on Heavenly Divine Mountain." "All right." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The Doyans and foe god experts present all took out Heavenly Alliance medallions and dripped their soul blood into them. The medallions immediately gave off a bright light, giving off many ancient and mysterious talisman scripts, looking very dazzling and intoxicating. After a while, these 10-odd Heavenly Alliance Doyans merged into a door of light. They formed a door of light that emitted a hazy and mysterious purple luster. The door of light was covered in pure white snow, and a plum blossom stood proudly. This was the symbol of the Heaven Alliance. Mu Zifeng and the other Doyans stopped what they were doing and looked at the light door with complicated expressions. "Open this door, and you will enter the core of the God of Heaven Mountain, which is a paradise created by the 9 heavens source gathering formation," Mu Zifeng said with a grave expression as he looked at Xiaoqun. When Xiaoqun was about to step in, Mu Zifeng said again, "There is one last thing that I want to remind you of. What? Once you enter, you won't be able to exit for a year." The 9 heavens origin gathering formation would only self-destruct when the Heavenly Divine Mountain's resources were truly exhausted. The space-time inside is distorted. 1 year in the outside world is equivalent to 10 years inside. Xiaoqun turned around and said, "In other words, I have to stay in there for 10 years before I can come out." Mu Zifeng nodded and said, "That's right. The purpose of this Heavenly Divine Mountain is to nurture the epic master. Only a superpower could create such a blessed land. Once the seal was broken, the heavenly treasures would be destroyed. Once the seal is broken, there will be no turning back. You will not come out until you exhaust the resources that the Heavenly Alliance has accumulated for more than 100,000 years." "Do the other super factions have similar paradises?" Xiaoqun asked. "Naturally. Their inheritances might be even more ancient, so you have to give it your all. If you don't exhaust the resources, you won't be able to come out." Xiaoqun thought to himself, this is equivalent to being separated from Ao Jiao, Mo Qin, and the others for a year. Had I known, I would have made some arrangements in advance. Help me take care of Ao Jiao, Mo Qin, and the others. I hope to see them again 1 year later. Bang! Right after speaking, Xiaoqun pushed open the door and entered the core of the Heavenly Divine Mountain. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The Doyan's medallions returned, and Xiaoqun vanished. Mu Zifeng muttered to himself, "I have bet more than 100,000 years of the Heavenly Alliance's luck on you. I hope you will not disappoint me." At the same time, in the Universe Origin Sect, Bushan Palace, and the profound Heaven Holy Land, The masters of the various superfactions did not heed the Holy Lord's orders to head to the faux god world. They were making similar preparations to the Heavenly Alliance. In their opinion, the Holy Lord was already at the end of his rope. The martial epoch would crumble soon. If they headed to the faux god world now, they would just die with the Holy Lord. Light flickered and the world spun. After a bout of dizziness, Xiao Chen's vision cleared up. Then he appeared in a mist-shrouded pool. When he looked up, he saw countless stalactites hanging above him, giving off brilliant lights and spiritual energy. Drip, drip. At the bottom of the stalactite, a handful of dewy spiritual beads fell into the pond. Xiao Chen gently pushed off with his feet and soared into the air. Then he plucked a stalactite. Crunching sounds rang out as Xiao Chen took a bite. As he expected, it was spiritual milk. The moment Xiao Chen took a bite, the spiritual milk materialized in his body like a storm, pouring into his divine energy sea. As he looked around, Xiao Chen said softly, "This place is indeed a blessed land. The spiritual energy here does not contain any impurities at all." If it were someone else, they would not be able to finish absorbing it even after 100 years. However, Xiao Chen was different. His 10,000 dragons art had already reached the third layer and condensed a blue dragon essence soul. The newly condensed blue dragon essence soul was like a baby waiting to be fed. It happened to require a large amount of resources. Even if it was not enough, Xiao Chen still had the demonic cloud heaven-swallowing art. He could materialize the demonic cloud bird, so he did not need to worry about not being able to consume it. As Xiao Chen walked, he felt time flow slowly. He entered deep thought, not in a rush to absorb the spiritual milk here. Xiao Chen had his own thoughts. In terms of resources, the various superfactions should be about the same. Some superfactions had inheritances even older than the Heavenly Alliance. In terms of cultivation, there was no way to determine who was stronger. After he came out of closed-door cultivation, he might even be weaker than the other party. Hence, the crux of these 10 years was not to absorb all the resources here and raise his cultivation. Instead, Xiao Chen needed to understand his Tao. Aside from the cycle of reincarnation, his Tao was also the Tao that he accumulated bit by bit. Compared to Shi, Chu Chaoyun, Wen Renyu, Qin Ming, Yan Songming, Yuan Zhen, and the others, Xiao Chen's Tao was more complicated and his path more difficult. Xiao Chen dual cultivated immortal cultivation and martial cultivation. At the same time, he had a fate with Buddhism. With the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique, many people of the Buddhist sect could not compare to him. Furthermore, Xiao Chen cultivated an ancient demonic cultivation technique, the demonic cloud heaven-swallowing art. At the same time, he possessed the blue dragon divine body. Xiao Chen dual cultivated immortal cultivation and martial cultivation, divine and demonic as one. He also had a Buddhist heart. Compared to the natural treasures that littered this place, understanding his Tao was more important in these 10 years. Perhaps it had something to do with Shi Wangmu's experiences, but Xiao Chen still maintained an indifferent attitude toward the vast spiritual milk that the Heavenly Alliance had accumulated for more than 100,000 years. His expression was calm, like that of a mortal walking on a mountain made of gold, calm and indifferent. In contrast, when Qin Ming, Wen Renyu, and the others entered their respective blessed lands, they immediately went wild with joy. They did not hesitate to circulate their cultivation techniques frantically, absorbing the surrounding natural treasures into their bodies at a horrifying speed. How long was 10 years? Xiao Chen did not know. The instant he entered the Nine Heavens origin gathering formation, he started thinking about dual cultivating immortal cultivation and martial cultivation, divine and demonic as one, and a Buddhist heart. He wondered how to merge them, how to walk a path that belonged to him, Xiao Chen. This was a path that no one had taken before or after. 1 year passed in the blessed lands. Suiren Ji, Hua Tianyang, and the other doyens came to find Mu Zifeng in a somewhat flustered manner. Alliance Chief, not to mention 10% of the resources in the blessed lands, there is not even 1,000th less. What is this Xiao Chen doing? Is he sleeping inside? This guy better not waste our painstaking efforts. Regardless of whether he absorbs it or not, After 10 years in the cave, the divine of heaven mountain will self-destruct. The group of doyens appeared flustered. After Mu Zifeng persuaded them to leave with kind words, he also felt apprehensive in his heart. What was Shao Chen up to? Soon, 2 years passed in the blessed enclave. The spiritual milk formed by the various natural treasures in the 9 heavens origin gathering formation did not decrease at all. This group of doyens sought out Mu Zifeng again. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. In the blink of an eye, 8 years had passed in the blessed paradise. However, the resources in the 9 heavens origin gathering formation did not decrease at all. Now, not only Hua Tianyang and the other doyens but also Mu Zifeng could no longer sit still. Everyone, what should we do now? After a while, regardless of whether Shao Chen is willing or not, the heavenly mountain will collapse, but the resources inside will not decrease. Mu Zifeng said somewhat helplessly as he looked at everyone with a sullen expression. The situation before them was beyond Mu Zifeng's expectations, something he had never expected. Actually, they had already discussed such a problem several times. However, they could not come up with a good solution in the end. Should we switch out someone else? Hua Tianyang said after some thought. Since the resources in there have not decreased, let's risk it and open the seal. Then, we can switch out someone else to absorb the resources in the 9 heavens origin gathering formation. Who should we switch to? Let's switch to Jiang He. He is the heaven dragon's descendant. Coincidentally, he absorbed the entire ethereal immortal palace. I think that he is a person with great luck. Coincidentally, he is also in our heavenly alliance. He also wants to become the Dragon Emperor, so we might be able to make a deal. Someone whispered a name, which immediately caused a moment of silence. Switching out someone else meant abandoning Shao Chen. Mu Zifeng closed his eyes and said, "Don't say it first. Let me think about it." Chapter 2342. Let me think about it. 8 months had passed since Shao Chen entered Heavenly Divine Mountain's 9 heavens origin gathering formation. Based on the ratio of time in the 9 heavens origin gathering formation, Shao Chen had been in there for 8 years. During these 8 years, the 10,000-year-old spiritual milk and the various divine sources in Heavenly Divine Mountain had not moved at all. Such a strange situation made the Heavenly Alliance's upper echelon feel somewhat anxious and uncertain. Some of the outstanding talents that the other super factions placed their bets on had already appeared and stirred up a storm in the Great Thousand Realms, attracting attention. For example, the Dragon God Crown Prince Qin Ming suddenly came out of closed-door cultivation 2 months ago. Now, he was a horrifying 9-vein sovereign emperor. The more horrifying thing was that he had completely unlocked the potential of the Golden Dragon's bloodline. His every movement gave people the feeling that he was an ancient golden dragon that had come back to life. The many older generation 9-vein sovereign emperors in Bushin Palace trembled before him. However, Shao Chen still showed no signs of movement. No one knew what was happening inside. "Zifeng, we can't wait anymore." Hua Tianyang, the old alliance chief, said hoarsely, his face covered in wrinkles, looking extremely old. The other doyens did not say anything. However, the expressions in their eyes as they looked at Mu Zifeng went without saying. They could not afford to wait. Or rather, the Heavenly Alliance could not afford to lose. As the epic changed, as long as they lost the bet, it would not just be 1 or 2 people who died. The thousands of clans and factions that relied on the Heavenly Alliance would either be destroyed or enslaved in the new epic. As faux god experts, they definitely did not want their descendants to be unable to maintain their current status in the new epic. They might even be enslaved by other factions. Mu Zifeng said after some thought, "I understand. Get someone to send Jiang He over." Understood. In less than 15 minutes, the faux god experts brought Jiang He to the summit of Heavenly Divine Mountain. Back then, after absorbing the ethereal immortal palace, Jiang He had fallen into a deep sleep. Then Shao Chen saved him. Jiang He had already woken up 3 months ago. Now, he had already stabilized the fortuitous encounter in the ethereal immortal palace. His entire body gave off an ethereal air. This was especially so for his eyes, which were as bright as stars and gems. When looked carefully, they were as deep and vast as the boundless starry heavens, giving off an ethereal and clear feeling. The ethereal immortal palace's aura was perfectly compatible with the heaven dragon mysteries. Now, Xiaoqun already possessed a true heavenly dragon bloodline. It had to be said that the previous heavenly dragon owed Jianghe a lot. However, he had done everything a father could to show the utmost fatherly love. The Heavenly Alliance doyens, including Mu Zifeng and Suiren Ji, all carefully sized up Jianghe, nodding to themselves. Xiaoqun was very satisfied with Jianghe. Since something unexpected happened to Xiaoqun, Jianghe was a good backup. "Seniors, what do you want to discuss with me?" Jianghe quickly asked, feeling weird being sized up by a group of people. Zhao's Dao Emperor Alliance Chief Shin God, Alliance wants to ask him, "King Qin is, you want me to be to replace Qin? You want Qin? You want me substitute? You want a divine emperor, you want me you want me replacing me instead. Shao King Qin heaven on one you heaven on one on demon you sue you all." The Heavenly Alliance has already staked everything on this and cannot afford to fail. You also want to become a dragon emperor, right? With our support, you will definitely be able to become a dragon emperor after you absorb the spiritual milk and divine source in the 9 heaven source gathering formation. Mu Zifeng knew that Jianghe had a deep relationship with Xiaoqun, so he made his relationship clear. Several thoughts flashed through Jianghe's mind, but he soon calmed down and mused to himself, "Chieftain Mu, I suggest we wait. Perhaps Xiaoqun is at the critical juncture of his closed-door cultivation, and if we rashly open the seal, it will instead cause him to fall short of success." But we can't wait any longer. That's right. Once the 9 heaven source convergence array is activated, it can only be maintained for a year. It's already been 8 months. Xiaoqun has been in there for 8 years. No matter what he is doing, he should have finished it by now. Little brother Jianghe, just say yes. When the Heavenly Alliance doyens saw Jianghe hesitate, they immediately felt somewhat anxious. They couldn't be blamed for not being anxious. After all, they had given Xiaoqun a lot of time. If it wasn't at the very last moment, they wouldn't resort to such a method. Rumble. Just as Jianghe was about to speak, the entire heavenly divine mountains suddenly shook intensely. The world spun around as if time and space twisted. At the summit of the mountain, Mu Zifeng and the others in the residence shook, unable to stand stably. Everyone's expressions changed slightly, showing doubt in their eyes. Crack, crack. Cracks appeared in the roof of the residence, and rubble fell continuously. The palace that stood on the peak of the mountain seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. "Let's go." Mu Zifeng made a prompt decision, quickly leaving with Jianghe and the other doyens. Just as the group left the residence and landed at the foot of Heavenly Divine Mountain, the Heavenly Divine Mountain shining with spiritual light behind them suddenly lost all its spiritual energy. All of a sudden, there was no more spiritual chi, and it turned into a pile of withered rocks. Then it collapsed. The 10,000-foot God Mountain disappeared in an instant. What's going on? Hua Tianyang and the other doyens were startled, their expressions changing dramatically. They all wondered if something had happened to the 9 heavens origin gathering array. "It's over. It's all gone." Suiren Ji shook his head and sighed softly. The 100,000-odd years of the Heavenly Alliance's accumulations suddenly vanished before everyone's eyes. Jianghe entered deep thought as if he thought of something. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Many figures quickly flew over from a distance. The Heavenly Alliance's cultivators had rushed over after hearing the news. Heavenly Divine Mountain was the symbol of the Heavenly Alliance. Everyone's every move was watched by the light. What more when it collapsed? They could not hide it even if they wanted to. This might even trigger a chain reaction. Bang! Just at this moment, the rubble exploded, and a figure drifted out. Xiaoqun. Jianghe's sharp eyes immediately recognized the person who flew out of the Heavenly Divine Mountain's rubble. This person was none other than Xiaoqun. This is somewhat strange. Suiren Ji stared at Xiaoqun, who was slowly descending. He revealed an expression of doubt in his eyes, as he was shocked to discover that Xiaoqun's aura had disappeared. He was shocked to discover that, despite being a faux god, he could not make out Xiao Chen's cultivation. Xiao Chen, who appeared before Swearenji, seemed ordinary, without anything special about him. Mu Zifeng's expression changed slightly. He signaled with his eyes, and a gray-clad nine-veined sovereign emperor Doyan immediately soared into the air. He soared into the air and threw a punch at Xiao Chen without saying a word. When Xiao Chen punched, he activated his 9 divine veins at the same time. Vast divine energy and soul energy drove the power of the world and materialized the mysterious phenomenon of 10,000 stars falling and the sun and moon shattering. This punch seemed to shatter the boundless river of stars and the sun, moon, and stars at the same time. Good timing. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Then he raised his hand and flicked his finger. Whoosh! A strand of saber chi shot out from Xiao Chen's fingertip. When the saber chi appeared, sun, moon, stars, universe, starry sky, endless divine essence. Before this seemingly ordinary strand of saber chi, they all lost their color and vanished. Pu Si. The saber chi pierced through the fist light of the 9-veined sovereign Emperor Doyan, sending him flying back while vomiting blood. 9-veined sovereign emperor. The instant Xiao Chen attacked, Swearenji and the other Doyans clearly saw Xiao Chen's cultivation. A bona fide 9-veined sovereign emperor. They immediately rejoiced. It turned out that Xiao Chen had absorbed all the resources in this heavenly divine mountain. Sorry for the offense earlier. After Xiao Chen landed, he performed a cupped fist salute to the Doyan who vomited blood. It's not really, the gray-clad Doyan quickly waved his hand as he spoke. When Xiao Chen attacked earlier, the gray-clad Doyan seemed to see gods, demons, immortals, and Buddhas sitting quietly behind him, submitting to a treasure saber. He had never seen or heard of such a scene before. The sky was filled with immortals, Buddhas, and countless gods and demons. Any one of them was an unprecedented powerhouse. Every one of them represented a grand epic. All of them had startling magic skills that could pluck the stars and moon. However, they all submitted to the light of a saber. Be it the ancient Buddhist nations with Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Arhats, and Vajras, the supreme immortal courts with immortals, the 9 layers of the demonic abyss with ancient demonic sovereigns, or the boundless hell, they were no exception. Xiao Chen raised his hand and flicked his finger, and the immortals, Buddhas, and ancient gods and demons all submitted. Chapter 2343. Xiao Chen raised his hand and flicked his finger. The gray-clad 9-veined sovereign Emperor Doyan instantly lost, a clean defeat. Such a scene elicited wild joy from Mu Zifeng and Swearenji's shock. Although this gray-clad Doyan was not particularly strong among the 9-veined sovereign emperors, he was still a bona fide 9-veined sovereign emperor. However, Xiao Chen was a bona fide 9-veined sovereign emperor who had accumulated his divine energy for many years. However, he still got defeated in one move. Xiao Chen, how did you do it? Mu Zifeng and the other Doyans asked out of curiosity. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and replied, I just figured out some problems, understood my Tao, and found the path I want to take. For the past 8 years, Xiao Chen had been thinking hard about where his path should be. Immortal cultivation and martial dual cultivation, divine and demon as one, and a Buddhist heart. All these things were hard to separate. Compared to raising his cultivation and absorbing resources, Xiao Chen paid more attention to the Tao he wanted to take. How to control it, how to merge it, how to look at his heart, and how to make his thoughts clear. Xiao Chen was very clear that if he did not understand, no matter how high his cultivation was, he would not be able to jump out of his current shackles. If he could not break through the bottleneck of the martial epic, he would always have to live in the shadows of his predecessors, unable to be himself. 8 years passed in the blink of an eye. Xiao Chen finally understood. His Tao, his path, his original heart, everything, came from the saber in his heart that had never been sealed. Xiao Chen was a bladesman. No matter how long it took, no matter how many immortals, demons, gods, or Buddhas passed, this would never change. After thinking it through, Xiao Chen suddenly saw the light. Then he used the saber to suppress the immortals, demons, gods, and Buddhas in his heart. Although it was called suppression, it was actually merging and absorbing them, mastering them, and taking the path to his heart. After comprehending the Tao, the world suddenly became clear. In one breath, Shaochen absorbed all the resources of heavenly divine mountain into the saber in his heart. What exactly is your cultivation now? Mu Zifeng was more concerned about this. Shaochen had revealed too little strength, so it was better to have an idea. Shaochen didn't say anything. After a while, he said softly, the level of cultivation isn't important. Once the epoch collapses, all the rules will be broken, including the division of cultivation levels. At that time, who will truly be able to establish an epoch will depend on one's understanding of the Tao, the world, and one's own heart. What do you mean? The moment Shaochen said that, Mu Zifeng and the other doyens exchanged looks, not really understanding. It's fine. With my current strength, I should be able to fight anyone below the empty god realm. Seeing that the other party did not really understand what he was talking about, Shaochen sighed in his heart. He could only say something practical. When Mu Zifeng and the others heard this, they all laughed. This made it much easier to understand. According to Shaochen's humble character, he was at the highest level below the faux god realm. Get some rest. Jiang He is here anyway, and you could ask him about what happened in the outside world while you were in seclusion. We'll be on our way. After experiencing Shaochen's strength, Mu Zifeng and the other Heavenly Alliance upper echelon left in satisfaction. He did not care about the collapse of the Heavenly God Mountain at all. Congratulations, Jiang He said with a smile as he strolled over. Many thanks. Shaochen sized up Jiang He with a few glances and sensed the other party's ethereal air, as well as the deep and distant eyes that looked like the boundless starry heavens. Shaochen's eyes lit up. After some thought, he asked, "You became a heaven dragon?" However, although I became a heaven dragon, my cultivation did not increase by much. I cannot compare to you. Jiang He smiled faintly, not showing much joy. Is that so? That might not be the case. When the martial epoch is destroyed, the various rules of the martial epoch might be destroyed along with it. At that time, we might no longer be able to judge a person's strength based on their cultivation. What do you mean? You were right about that earlier. That group of doyens said it too. Jiang He showed a confused expression. He felt that Shaochen did not seem to be joking. Shaochen thought for a while before explaining, "This is just my guess. When the martial epoch is destroyed, the rules of the martial epoch, like the division of cultivation realms, will be destroyed as well. At that time, before the new epoch appears, how much strength one can bring out will depend on one's understanding of one's Tao, not just one's cultivation." Jiang He had never heard of such a theory before. When he suddenly heard it, he felt greatly startled. Shaochen said softly, "Let's not talk about this for now. While I was in closed-door cultivation, did the faux god war in the Yanwu dynasty come to an end?" Shaochen had been in the Nine Heavens origin gathering formation for about 8 years. 8 or 9 months should have passed in the outside world. Logically speaking, the results of the faux god war in the Yanwu dynasty should have come to an end already. Jiang He nodded and said, "I was just about to talk to you about this. I'd like to hear the details. I'm not very sure about the process of the faux god war. However, after that battle, the factions of the underworld god hall and the demonic Tao hall withdrew from the imperial capital Yen City. All the factions belonging to the imperial ancestral temple in the palace have been cleared out. Now, Wang Yan has inherited the throne and is the new Yen emperor." After a pause, Jiang He continued, "However, things are far from over. The demonic Tao Hall and the underworld god hall have already launched a large-scale invasion of the Yanwu dynasty. Right now, the flames of war raged everywhere in the Yanwu dynasty. There was also a new Buddhist sect that appeared everywhere, bewitching the masses. They revered the ancient Kitagarbha Bodhisattva as the Buddha, gaining countless believers. It shows signs of overtaking the hidden spirit temple. Its development speed is incredible. Shaochen thought to himself, "It looks like the shattering of the Kasyapa Buddha's golden body has something to do with Yuan Zhen. How is the hidden spirit temple now? It's very difficult." The shattering of the golden body of the Buddha caused them to lose many believers. Now, there's a young monk called Yen Qin who goes around preaching and forming an alliance with the imperial family. We're mutually dependent. If that was the case, then the battle between foe gods that day must have been extremely intense. Pan Huang and sword god Su Hanshan should have worked together to defeat the demonic Dao Hall and the underworld god Hall. However, they could no longer support the Yenwu dynasty. The entire dynasty was in a precarious situation, becoming the most chaotic place before the epoch changed. But there's something else I have to tell you. Jiang He looked around cautiously. Then, he sent a voice projection to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen felt enlightened, but his expression did not change much. That's normal. I have not done anything for 8 years. It is hard for them to not get anxious. After all, he staked everything on me. Xiao Chen appeared rather calm about Jiang He's secret, replying in a relaxed manner. That's good. I was thinking the same thing. Before this, I was still hesitating, afraid that you would overthink it. Now, it looks like I was overthinking. Jiang He sized up Xiao Chen and found that he could not figure out the other party. It was like Jiang He and the others were still in a cage, but Xiao Chen had already jumped out. How is the situation in the Divine Dragon Empire? I would like to take some time to go over. It is time to resolve some grudges. Jiang He's expression changed slightly as he asked, Are you sure? While Xiao Chen spoke casually, Jiang He knew that once Xiao Chen went, there would be a bloody storm. I'm sure. Tell me it. Xiao Chen knew that Jiang He had been thinking of returning to the Divine Dragon Empire. He had designs on the Dragon Emperor position and had been paying attention at all times. Qin Ming stood out among the outstanding bloodline talents of the 8 great empires and obtained the full support of the Bushin Palace. He came out of closed-door cultivation before you and is a 9-vein sovereign emperor. Now he shakes the dragon race with his might. The purple gold dragon emperor intends to bring forward the dragon emperor selection. Helplessness flashed in Jiang He's eyes as he said, However, with Qin Ming's current cultivation, even if the other divine dragon disciples work together, they will not be able to defeat him. The competition to become the Dragon Emperor is just a ceremony for him to crown the Dragon Emperor. Is that so? A smile appeared on Xiao Chen's face as he said softly, It will not be that easy. Remember to tell me when you return to the Divine Dragon Empire. Xiao Chen, will you vie for the Dragon Emperor position as well? Jiang He felt somewhat conflicted in his heart. After hesitating for a long time, he said, Although you saved my life, if you vie for the Dragon Emperor position, I'll probably have to fight you to the end and not back down. Xiao Chen did not deny it, not answering directly. He smiled and said, There's no need to feel conflicted. I never use morals to coerce others. If you do your best to vie for the Dragon Emperor position, I will definitely support you. I have to go and meet the others. Thank you for telling me so much. What does that mean? Jiang He remained in front of the rubble of Heavenly Divine Mountain, frowning heavily as he pondered Xiao Chen's words. Sorry, I have to vie for the Dragon Emperor position. I can only repay the debt of saving my life in the future. Even after a long time, Jiang He still could not figure out Xiao Chen's words. So, he shook his head and chose to leave. Xiao Chen continuously traveled through the vast and boundless Heavenly Alliance's headquarters, appearing like a flash of light and shadow, leaving no traces. After a while, he appeared outside Ao Jiao's room. However, he discovered that Ao Jiao had already left. She returned to the Golden Crow Empire. Mo Chen and Su Yi, who were in the same courtyard, came out. After chatting for a long time, they informed Xiao Chen of Ao Jiao's whereabouts. She already left? That's good. I should make a trip to the Golden Crow Empire. Chapter 2344. At that time, the 100 schools of thought and the 10,000 races would contend for supremacy. Blood and fire, chaos and despair would continue until the start of the new epoch. The two crashed into the Buddhist nation's barrier in the air like broken kites, producing loud sounds that sounded like morning bells and evening drums. Which evil beast dares to barge into the divine kingdom? The two controlled their Buddhist sect consummate techniques as they pleased. With a wave of their hands, they perfectly manifested their true meaning. Xiao Chen felt startled. He had heard from Jiang He that the new Buddhist sect led by Yuan Zhen was developing rapidly. The so-called purification was using the Buddhist sect's magic skills to brainwash and enslave the other party, turning them into one's slaves. The two's initiative vanished in mere moments, and they fell into a predicament. The saber light materialized by the power of cycles materialized in Xiao Chen's 5 fingers gathered in his palm. Then he casually swung. The many believers on the ground showed joy on their faces. Smiles appeared on their faces, appearing content and blissful. The seal could not stop Xiao Chen, as this world called for the destroyer. The various mysterious phenomena of the Buddhist sect could not advance an inch under the illumination of the saber light. Cloud-rubbing palm. No matter where one was in the vast, boundless starry heavens, as long as one looked back, one would always see the central great realm, which was like an eternal treasure of the world. Xiao Chen was very familiar with such a scene. The life Tao and the death Tao immediately cycled endlessly around Xiao Chen, sending out saber lights materialized by the power of cycles. However, there were still many people outside the Divine Kingdom who could not avoid worshipping the Divine Kingdom. These people kowtowed piously, hoping that the bodhisattvas would show themselves and let them in. In an instant, a vast Buddhist kingdom appeared, overflowing with golden light. However, when looking at it now, one could clearly sense an ominous black fog encasing the central great realm. Now, this Yanwu dynasty's ritual ground was densely packed with believers in the blink of an eye. Countless believers worshipped inside and outside the ritual ground. Incense burned, making the Buddha statue and the bodhisattvas and arhats around it look even more dignified. A rainbow path carrying a lotus platform wound its way through the air and landed at Xiao Chen's feet. Then Xiao Chen saw a gigantic Buddha image in the west of the Yanwu dynasty. Connected to the heavens and the earth, Buddhist light illuminated everything. His appearance was dignified and kind. After passing 10 layers of palace halls and 1 million steps, Xiao Chen saw Yuan Zhen on the spacious Dao platform in front of the palace. Xiao Chen spread his arms and slowly descended from the starry sky like an eagle. Countless refugees, destitute and destitute. The evil Dao ran amok everywhere. Xiao Chen opened his eyes, feeling a little sad. Coincidentally, Xiao Chen felt curious and wanted to probe Yuan Zhen's current situation. He immediately stepped onto the lotus platform, and the Buddhist light rotated. The lotus platform automatically brought Xiao Chen forward on the rainbow path. Suddenly, Xiao Chen's divine sense sensed a dazzling Buddhist light, and he opened his eyes. Xiao. The two of them vomited blood and looked at Xiao Chen with fear in their eyes. That was because if the old era was not destroyed, the new era would never appear. That eternal night would never have a moment of dawn. It would forever fall into darkness. Just as the two were at a loss for what to do, the barrier of the Buddhist nation in the air suddenly opened like an ancient Buddhist gate. Furthermore, Ao Jiao did not feel at ease leaving little yellow feather alone in the Golden Crow Empire. Xiao Chen suddenly understood. This was the purification that the two Protector Vajra mentioned earlier. However, since Yuan Zhen invited him, there was no harm in meeting him. Buddhist chanting rang out beside Xiao Chen's ears as scriptures echoed. Rubbing the clouds freely and projecting 10,000 Buddhas with the palm. However, Xiao Chen did not know that the other party had already established a Buddhist nation. The eyes of the two Buddhist sect protectors, who were as strong as great perfection sovereign emperors, lit up when they saw Xiao Chen. Then, they saw two Buddhist sect experts bathed in golden light, dressed in Protector Vajra attire, flying out of the dazzling golden nation. If they wanted to make things difficult for Xiao Chen, it would not be easy for them to come out. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. After entering the other party's Buddhist nation, his strength would be limited. He knew that this was just the beginning. Such a tragedy would slowly spread. Eventually, it would spread to the entire Great Thousand Realms. When the epic ended, the eternal night would officially descend. At this moment, Yuan Zhen sat cross-legged, giving a lecture to the surroundings. 3 days later, Shaochen returned to the Central Great Realm from the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. Shaochen frowned slightly. These two Buddhist sect experts had pure Buddhist Dharma and deep accumulations. The two did not waste any time speaking nonsense. They each executed a killing move, and vast Buddhist might encased Shaochen. At the very least, there were hundreds of millions of them. They are pretty strong. Furthermore, they are spies sent by the royal court's lackeys. Without any warning, Shaochen, who moved forward like a laser beam, crashed into the void. Shaochen's spiritual sense turned into countless invisible motes of light, spreading out like a spiderweb. Soon, he sensed the entire Yenwu dynasty in his sea of consciousness. This was the small world of more than 100 Buddhist sect experts, gathered using Buddhist magic skills. This materialized a divine nation that rivaled a true god's, even stronger than a small world. Dang! The sovereign emperor experts of the righteous Tao and demonic Tao stood up and left respectfully. Just as the sovereign emperor experts felt horrified, they saw Shaochen suddenly raise his hand. However, Shaochen's eyes were lifeless, devoid of spiritual light. Clearly, he was already delirious. We have guess. We'll talk about it another day. You all can withdraw. Flames of war and beacons filled the place. The bustle of the past was long gone. Shaochen could see the dragon luck guarding the Yenwu dynasty from the constellation. It was unstable in the wind and rain, showing signs of crumbling. When Shaochen sent out his spiritual sense, all he received was negative emotions. The Yenwu dynasty's etiquette had collapsed. Order no longer existed, and ghosts ran amok. Night slowly descended, with no hope in sight. Shaochen did not panic. He silently circulated the cycle Great Tao. Shaochen did not rush to the Golden Crow Empire. He directly landed in the sky above the Yenwu dynasty. This was the center of the entire martial epic, the Great Thousand Realms, where the luck of the entire martial epic gathered. Shaochen was like a wild beast that saw delicious prey. He spread his fingers and lifted them up high. In that instant, Shaochen's figure magnified infinitely in the eyes of the two, making them look infinitely insignificant. As the world venerate commands. Don't bother speaking nonsense with him. Capture him and get martial ancestor Yuanzhen to purify him. That will be a great help. Now, Shaochen somewhat understood why Mu Zifeng said that the Black Dragon King would definitely appear. Even if Shaochen knew where the Black Dragon King was sealed, he would not be able to stop the Black Dragon King from appearing. Back in the Kunlun realm, the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva had opened a similar dojo in the heavenly starry ocean. However, it was much smaller in scale. But millions of five-colored auspicious signs layered over each other burst out. A golden Kitagarbha Bodhisattva Dharmic incarnation was hidden in the depths of the Buddhist light. Without more than 100 years of attainments in the Buddhist Dharma, it would be very difficult to materialize such a perfect Buddhist mysterious phenomenon as one pleased. Flying Flower Finger. After all, she was the Golden Crow Empire's divine daughter. She could not remain in the Heavenly Alliance forever. Shaochen's figure turned around and flew straight to the dojo. He arrived within a short while. Welcome, Benefactor Shao. The world venerate invites you in. The countless astral regions in the magnificent starry heavens revolved around the central great realm. After Shaochen entered, the gates of the Buddhist nation closed. When Shaochen looked down, there was a vast and majestic execution ground that occupied a vast area. Yuanzhen glanced over. When he saw Shaochen, he smiled and said, "Benefactor Shao, how have you been?" Shaochen took a few steps back and looked over, entering deep thought. Flowers flew around, and light and shadows danced. It was not hard to understand why Ao Jiao returned to the Golden Crow Empire. Given Shaochen's current strength, he could travel the starry heavens without an alloy warship even faster. Shaochen did not seem like a sovereign emperor expert who relied on the power of incense. The people who spoke to him startled Shaochen. Among them were sovereign emperor experts of the righteous Tao and demonic Tao. There were even people of the demonic Tao and abyssal underworld's foreign races. Those lawless evil cultivators all appeared pious or enslaved. This situation could not be reversed by just one person. After saying goodbye to Imo Qin and Su Yi, Xiaoqin headed to the Golden Crow Empire alone. The ordinary people showed flustered expressions. They were numb and ignorant, not knowing how to deal with this. Some were kept in captivity by demonic Dao cultivators, using their physical bodies as nourishment for their demonic cultivation techniques, and their souls as sacrifices to the ghost pennant. The various religious sects took advantage of the chaos to bewitch the hearts of the people. When looking around, Xiaoqin saw a dense, indescribable number of believers. Countless arhats wore kasayas and had golden divine powder smeared over their bodies on both sides of the road. Under the illumination of the Buddhist light, they glistened like ancient arhats, looking incredibly dazzling. Chapter 23:45. Benefactor Xiao, how have you been? When Yuan Zhen saw Xiaoqin, he smiled faintly, showing a relaxed expression. There was an indescribable Buddha nature on him. It was neither good nor evil, and it was extremely strange. Xiaoqin had just heard the others call him the revered one of the world. This was an incredible title. It was rumored that the first ancestor of Buddhism was born. He pointed to the heavens and drew the earth, saying that he was the only supreme being in the world. This simple form of address showed Yuan Zhen's ambition. Xiaoqin asked softly, "Should I call you Yuan Zhen or the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva?" Yuan Zhen pressed his palms together and smiled benevolently. "Benefactor Xiao, it is better to address me as Yuan Zhen. I prefer you to call me Yuan Zhen, but in your eyes, it's all the same no matter what you call me." Xiaoqin narrowed his eyes slightly. He found Yuan Zhen somewhat unfathomable. Looking up, at the back of the heavenly strength hall, in the depths of the myriad of overlapping auspicious signs, the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva's transcendence golden body was hidden within. Its face was benevolent, and its heart was filled with compassion. Suddenly Xiaoqin understood. So that's how it was. The Kitagarbha Bodhisattva had already merged with Yuan Zhen. However, the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva existed in Yuan Zhen's form. The two had not truly merged yet. Hence, Yuan Zhen's consciousness remained. He was right. The one standing before Xiaoqin was indeed Yuan Zhen and not the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva. Xiaoqin said softly, "If you had a choice, would you still bear the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva's karma? According to his plan, when the Buddhist epoch is established, your memories of Yuan Zhen will disappear." Yuan Zhen's expression changed slightly. Unexpectedly, Xiaoqin saw through his relationship with the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva. When the Buddhist epoch arrived, the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva would truly awaken. At that time, the dominant position would change. Yuan Zhen withdrew his smile. After some thought, he said, "Most of the time, there is actually no choice." Maybe. Xiaoqin didn't refute the other party. From his point of view, he could choose at any time. But he also understood that the others had no choice. "There seem to be many hidden spirit temple esteemed monks in your Buddhist nation?" Xiaoqin changed the topic and asked casually. Yuan Zhen smiled and said, "You have pretty good eyes." Indeed, after the Kasayapa Buddha's golden body was destroyed, the Kasayapa Buddha's body was destroyed. Many martial uncles abandoned the darkness for the light and joined me in creating a new Buddhism. But even if you want to create a new Buddhist school, there's no need for you to make a move against these commoners, no? Xiaoqin pointed at the believers kneeling at the foot of the 10,000 steps. Yuan Zhen argued, "What's wrong? Didn't you see the smiles on their faces? In my Buddhist kingdom, you only need to worship devoutly every day, and you won't have to worry about food or clothing. What's so bad about that? Right now, the Yenwu dynasty is hell on earth, filled with the flames of war. I am doing good deeds to accumulate virtue. If you want to argue, I won't argue with you." Yuan Zhen's expression slowly turned serious. He said seriously, "Xiaoqin, what if I told you that the Kasayapa Buddha used this method to establish the Buddhist sect back then? Would you believe me?" The epoch changed, and chaos arose everywhere. Extraordinary times naturally required extraordinary methods. If I did not use such methods, how could I establish the Buddhist kingdom in such a short time? I know you want to say that these believers do not have any thoughts or intelligence, like the Walking Dead. However, this has always been the case in this world. The strong can be merciful. When the Buddhist epic starts, the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva will return the power of faith, and there will be no need to do this. Shaochen felt slightly stunned. Then, he thought of the 3 black mountains behind Spirit Vulture Mountain, the boundless demonic domain filled with sin. Yuan Zhen's words should be true. However, so what? Hence, Shaochen did not feel any pity for the hidden spirit temple's destruction. A temple built on boundless sin should not have a reason to exist, no matter how glorious it was. You're on your own. You should understand that these words of self-consolation can only deceive yourself. Shaochen felt very uncomfortable staying here. After investigating Yuan Zhen and the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva's situation, Shaochen did not want to linger, so he turned and left. Did I say you could leave? Yuan Zhen snorted coldly and sent a palm strike at Shaochen. The entire Buddhist kingdom's 90,000 arhats, 8,000 vajras, and 300 bodhisattvas all chanted scriptures at the same time. This caused countless ancient Buddhist sect scriptures to surround Yuan Zhen's palm strike. The entire divine kingdom started circulating in his palm. Shaochen's expression did not change. He turned around and sent a palm strike in retaliation. Boom! The instant the 2 palms clashed, the vast and boundless Buddhist kingdom shook intensely. Images of countless ancient arhats and bodhisattvas appeared in the sky amid thousands of auspicious signs. The Tao of life and death cycled endlessly around Shaochen, producing an unending stream of reincarnation power. Shaochen resisted the pressure of the entire Buddhist kingdom by himself. Saber! Shaochen shouted, and an eternal, inextinguishable saber light that surpassed the epic shot out from his body. The saber light soared into the clouds and tore a crack in the Buddhist kingdom's barrier in the sky. Yuan Zhen showed shock on his face as he got knocked back. Then he watched helplessly as Shaochen soared into the air and left the divine kingdom before the crack mended. World Venerate! Right after Shaochen left, many Buddhist sect sovereign emperors appeared in the surroundings with grave expressions. World Venerate, why did you not bring out the golden Buddha body and directly suppress him? With Shaochen dead, we will have one less strong enemy. Yuan Zhen said indifferently, I feel that he is not as simple as a 9-vein sovereign emperor. The Kittagarbha Bodhisattva's golden body is not complete yet. We cannot take the risk. The 2 were testing each other, probing each other's limits. While Shaochen wanted to figure out Yuan Zhen and the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva's strength, Yuan Zhen thought the same. However, Yuan Zhen could not figure out the other party's strength with just 1 palm strike. After leaving the Buddhist kingdom, Shaochen hovered in the air and looked down at the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva's golden body. Yuan Zhen remained silent and observed for a long time, not leaving. He wanted to destroy this Buddhist kingdom in one go. However, he felt that there was no need in the end. The Buddhist kingdom was established because the epic was about to end. Order collapsed, and the natural laws no longer existed. It was like a dynasty on the verge of destruction. The emperor lost his suppression of the feudal lords. Outstanding talents fought each other, and chaos descended. This was not a problem that could be solved by killing 1 or 2 feudal lords. The current situation was even more complicated and terrifying than that. The Holy Lord, who controlled the entire epic, had already lost control of the various factions. The righteous Tao was no longer righteous, and the demonic Tao was even more demonic. The entire world was on the verge of collapse, on the verge of collapse. Shaochen withdrew his gaze and stood up to leave. Not long later, Shaochen sensed 2 figures rapidly approaching him. Big brother. It was the little monk Yen Qin and the Heavenly Book scholar. Shaochen asked in confusion, why are the 2 of you here? Let's leave this place first. This is the evil Buddha's territory. Even faux gods do not dare to barge in. The Heavenly Book scholar looked at the Buddhist kingdom fearfully. After a while, Shaochen understood that Yen Qin and the Heavenly Book scholar sensed a battle in the Buddhist kingdom. They came to check and discovered that it was Shaochen, so they rushed over. Far away from Yuan Zhen's Buddhist kingdom, the 3 landed. When Shaochen saw the little monk Yen Qin, he felt rather happy. Big brother, my master passed away. Yenchen said sullenly, showing grief on his face. Big brother, my master passed away. Venerable Su Yun? This senior had left a very good impression on Xiaochen. Xiaochen felt deep respect for him. How did he die? The Heavenly Book scholar explained, back when we were still in the ancient Yan Emperor tomb during the succession race, Senior Su Yun chased after the traitor, Su Ming, who was Yuan Zhen's master. In the end, that Su Ming had planned this. He lured Venerable Su Yi to the Kasyapa Buddha's golden body. Then he died together, destroying the Kasyapa Buddha's golden body, resulting in today's situation. That was how the Kasyapa Buddha's golden body was destroyed. This Su Ming schemed and was very ruthless. No wonder Xiaochen did not see him in the Buddhist kingdom. It turned out that he was already dead. Where are Abbot Su Yi and Senior Pan Huang? Xiaochen asked. Yenchen answered, the abbot and Senior Pan Huang are at Spirit Vulture Mountain, leading the remaining martial uncles to suppress the sin in Spirit Vulture Mountain. Right now, I am in charge of the hidden spirit temple. The abbot and his martial uncle told me to assist the Yen Emperor and not lower my head to the evil Buddha. Unexpectedly, Yenchen would have a day where he could stand on his own. Given Yenchen's character, he probably did not like this responsibility. However, with the epoch changing, the Buddhist sects no longer had anyone to lead them aside from him. Xiaochen said softly, before I came, I saw that the entire Yanwu dynasty was covered in smoke. The situation does not seem very optimistic. We have to persevere, right? The Heavenly Book scholar smiled and said, if even we give up, there will be no hope for this land at all. Yenchen showed a determined expression as he said through clenched teeth, Big brother, there is no need to worry. When the reinforcements from the other 3 Buddhist temples arrive, the evil Buddha will not be able to be so arrogant. Aside from the hidden spirit temple, the Buddhist sects had 3 other Buddhist temples, all of them holy lands. It looks like the situation is not that bad. Xiaochen said, help me send my regards to 9th brother. I still have things to do and cannot stay to help him for now. After taking his leave of the 2, Xiaochen headed for the Golden Crow Empire. Xiaochen passed through the desolate sea and arrived at the Blue Dragon's old land, stopping at the small village that Xiaochen once led. The small village no longer existed. In its place was a flourishing city. A towering tree stood outside the city, covering the sky and sun. A youth formed hand seals under the tree, using spiritual energy to nourish the tree's roots. This youth was none other than Sang, the propping mulberry tree. Wait here first. Sang did not feel surprised to see Xiaochen land. He gave him a casual glance before continuing to focus on nourishing the propping mulberry tree. Many years had passed since they parted. The sapling from back then. After so many years, the sapling from back then had already grown into a towering tree, protecting the city behind it like a guardian deity. Xiaochen was not in a rush. He waited quietly at the side. Chapter 2346. After Sang finished nourishing it with spiritual energy, Xiaochen waved his hand. Then he looked at Xiaochen and said, it has been many years. However, I knew that you would definitely return. That is natural. However, when I came from the Yanwu dynasty, the desolate sea did not seem to have many waves. As the 2 walked casually, Xiaochen asked, finding it strange. Sang showed a calm expression as he replied casually, the desolate sea is filled with deserts and desolate lands, lacking in spiritual energy. It is not like the Yanwu dynasty, which is at the center of the storm. However, it is only a matter of time. When the epoch ends, chaos will sweep through the entire Great Thousand Realms. Xiaochen frowned and said, the epoch changes, and the order collapses. You don't seem to feel it at all. What can I feel? When I was still in the propping mulberry tree's body, I saw the rise and fall of many epochs. However, don't worry. With the propping mulberry tree's protection, the villagers in Azure Mountain Town should be able to avoid much trouble. Sang knew that the ordinary people gathered in Azure Mountain Town had a deep connection to the Blue Dragon bloodline back then. Perhaps they were once ordinary people under the Blue Dragon race's rule. Although Xiaochen did not say it, He still cared about this group of people in his heart. In that case, I'll have to trouble you. Xiao Chen thanked Sang. Then, he turned his head back and happened to see the towering azure mountain in the distance. Xiao Chen's expression slowly turned grave. Now that he had returned to the Blue Dragon's old land, he definitely could not avoid this towering mountain that resembled the Blue Dragon's flight. However, the azure mountain remained, but the dragon head was gone. It was clear that the azure mountain once had a dragon head. However, someone chopped it off. Xiao Chen guessed that the Divine Master must have done it after defeating Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun in the Desolate Sea. After the Holy Lord defeated Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun in the Desolate Sea, he chopped off the Azure Mountain's dragon head, using that to strangle the Blue Dragon race's luck. Bring me to meet Grandpa Seven and the others, then. All right. Sang led the way, bringing Xiao Chen to meet all the old friends he once had. Of course, the burning moon wine brewed by Grandpa Seven had to be drunk to his heart's content. In the dead of night, Xiao Chen left alone and looked at the blood moon in the sky, deep in thought. What are you thinking about? Sang asked as he walked out. Xiao Chen muttered softly, previously, my cultivation was not high. I thought that the Desolate Sea's blood moon was just a star. In the vast starry sky, there were countless stars. There was nothing strange about it. Now that I've reached my current realm, I can sense that this blood moon is truly incomparably mysterious. A blood moon would rise in the Desolate Sea every night. This was an ancient mystery. Many foe gods could not solve it. Why could one see the blood moon only in the Desolate Sea and not elsewhere? What was even more mysterious was that the blood moon was clearly in the sky, but if one flew into the starry sky, they would not be able to find it. It was even more wondrous than the reflection in the mirror. When Xiao Chen thought about Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun's words in the ethereal immortal palace, he found it hard not to connect this blood moon to the wings of time. This blood moon is indeed strange. It is clearly in the sky, and moonlight covers the entire Desolate Sea. However, it feels somewhat illusory. Sang nodded, agreeing with Xiao Chen's point of view. So, I have to figure it out. What are you doing? Sang asked, feeling confused. Xiao Chen smiled mysteriously, not saying anything more. Then, the Divine Universe Steel quietly emerged from his body. After a while, a light flashed, and Xiao Chen entered the Divine Universe Steel. Then, the Divine Universe Steel vanished into thin air. Sang searched around in confusion but did not find anything. However, he did not worry. He shook his head and said, "This fellow is becoming increasingly mysterious. He gives me the feeling that he is even more unfathomable than those powerhouses of the ancient epic." The Blue Dragon's old land. Xiao Chen leaped out of the blood moon while holding the Divine Universe Steel. He looked around and saw the desolate slave Soul Reaper standing on the city wall in the distance. Soul Reaper's figure looked as imposing as before, but its aura was much weaker than what Xiao Chen had seen previously. "Come in." The dragon spirit's voice rang out in Xiao Chen's mind right after he appeared. Xiao Chen turned into a beam of purple light and leaped 50 kilometers. When he passed by Soul Reaper, he turned his head back to look at it. Soul Reaper sensed Soul Reaper. It also turned its head to look at Xiao Chen with a confused expression. Every time Xiao Chen saw Soul Reaper, he felt a trace of sorrow. Sighing softly, Xiao Chen landed on the ancient city's Dao platform. A blue dragon statue surrounded the mountains in front of the Dao platform. Having come here many times, Xiao Chen was familiar with the place, so he pushed open the door of the dragon statue and entered. The dragon spirit had been waiting for a long time. Without saying a word, it brought Xiao Chen to the blue dragon's inheritance hall. Xiao Chen did not say anything. He headed for the inheritance hall. This time, he was confident of directly climbing to the top floor. "There's no need. With your current strength, you no longer need to go through a test. I can give you the 10,000 Dragons Arts follow-up cultivation technique that you want." However, the dragon spirit stopped Xiao Chen and directly handed a jade strip to Xiao Chen. "Ancestor Dragon Art?" Xiao Chen gave the jade strip a strange look. To think that the dragon spirit gave him the Ancestor Dragon Art. That's right. With your current foundation, you can already cultivate it. When the 10,000 Dragons art is cultivated to the end, all techniques will return to one. No matter what bloodline it is, it will take the path of atavism, bringing out the great desolate Aeon ancestor dragon's divine might. However, it is hard to say whether you can cultivate it or not, the dragon spirit said indifferently. If one could cultivate the ancestor dragon art, one would be able to bring out 1% of a great desolate Aeon ancestor dragon's strength. Unfortunately, over the countless epochs, very few managed to cultivate it. However, Shao Chun did not really need the ancestor dragon art right now. Right now, his flawless saber Dao already surpassed the epochs, surpassing immortals, Buddhas, gods, and demons. Furthermore, with the cycle Dao as his foundation, regular 9-vein sovereign emperors would not be a match for him. Furthermore, Shao Chun had a trump card that others did not know about. Shao Chun was not a 9-vein sovereign emperor but a 10-vein sovereign emperor. The special divine vein that Shao Chun condensed after absorbing the entire immortal burial lake actually existed independently. After Shao Chun comprehended the Tao and absorbed all the resources of Heavenly Divine Mountain, he advanced to a 10-vein sovereign emperor. However, Shao Chun had not ignited his divine flame and was not a faux god. However, he had one more divine vein than a 9-vein sovereign emperor. Perhaps, it would be more accurate to call it an immortal vein rather than a divine vein. I'll leave this to you as well. After the dragon spirit handed the ancestor dragon art to Shao Chun, it handed Shao Chun an item. Royal Genealogical Record. Shao Chun received it and took a look. It was a royal genealogical record. Only by writing his true name in it could he truly possess the dragon race's royal bloodline. Before Shao Chun could digest it, the dragon spirit took out another item. A throne with 10,000 dragons carved on its back appeared out of nowhere before Shao Chun. A pure emperor dragon's divine might surged out from the throne. This slightly stunned Shao Chun. Caught off guard, this emperor dragon's divine might forced him back a few steps. This is, be it the ancestor dragon art or the royal genealogical record, Shao Chun knew about them. Hence, he was not surprised when the dragon spirit took them out. However, this throne startled Shao Chun. Even with Shao Chun's current cultivation, this ancient throne still forced him back a few steps when he was unprepared. One could imagine just how great the background of this throne was. The dragon spirit smiled and said, "This is the Emperor Dragon throne that the dragon race has acknowledged since ancient times. The throne in the Divine Dragon Empire is just a replica." Is this for me as well? Naturally. The dragon spirit's enthusiasm made Shao Chun feel apprehensive in his heart. This dragon spirit is taking out all its trump cards. Shao Chun asked suspiciously, "Senior, what do you want me to do?" The dragon spirit said somewhat excitedly, "I already sensed a great change in the world. The martial epoch will come to an end. With the Emperor Dragon throne and the royal genealogical record, you will definitely be able to snatch back the position of Dragon Emperor. After that, you will lead the Divine Dragon Empire and formally start the Divine Dragon epoch, fulfilling Dragon Emperor Shao Yun's final wish." So, that is what the dragon spirit wants. Shao Chun put away the Emperor Dragon throne but did not rush to imprint his soul blood on it. He looked at the dragon spirit and said, "Actually, I am not here today for the supreme treasures of the dragon race in the Blue Dragon treasure trove. I have a question that I would like to ask Senior." "Speak." Did Dragon Emperor Shao Yun obtain the wings of time back then? The dragon spirit turned silent upon hearing that. After a while, it replied, "Dragon Emperor Shao Yun did indeed obtain the wings of time." In that case, why did he not use it when he fought the Holy Lord? Chapter 2347. In that case, why did Dragon Emperor Shao Yun not use the wings of time when he fought the Holy Lord back then? Shao Chun asked the question in his heart. Then he looked at the dragon spirit, hoping to get an answer from it. The dragon spirit remained silent, seeming to be hiding something else. Shao Chun found it strange, but he did not pursue the matter. He only waited quietly for the other party. After a long time, the dragon spirit said, "I'll tell you after you become the Dragon Emperor. How about that?" Shao Chun said softly, "It's better to tell you now." I'm afraid of changes in the future. This matter is very important. How long is Senior going to hide it from me? The dragon spirit sighed. After a while it said, "Alright, it is indeed time to tell you. Dragon Emperor Shao Yun did indeed secretly take away the wings of time back then. He did not use the wings of time when he fought the Holy Lord. That's because the wings of time were prepared to deal with even stronger enemies. The Black Dragon King, an enemy stronger than the Holy Lord. Naturally, Shao Chen thought of the Black Dragon King. That's right. Back then, the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor used the martial epic's luck to barely seal the Black Dragon King. Back then, the martial epic declined and could no longer continue sealing the Black Dragon King. Dragon Emperor Shao Yun had a greater goal, to kill the Black Dragon King and deal with this problem in one go. This revelation startled Shao Chen. This Dragon Emperor Shao Yun was very ambitious. This was something that even the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor could not do. To think that he wanted to take the risk and kill the Black Dragon King. After some thought, Shao Chen said, "How did he prepare? If I guess right, it should have something to do with that blood moon above the desolate sea." The dragon spirit looked at Shao Chen, and its eyes lit up. It said softly, "It looks like you suspected it long ago. It does have something to do with that blood moon." The desolate sea was the origin of the entire martial epic. Back then, after Dragon Emperor Shao Yun obtained the wings of time, the desolate sea was the origin of the entire martial epic. Back then, after Dragon Emperor Shao Yun obtained the wings of time, he materialized the blood moon as the formation core and laid 2 formations. 2 formations? Shao Chen knew that there was a heavenly Tao killing formation in the vast desolate sea with the blood moon as the formation core. Then where is the other array formation? I believe you know about the heavenly Tao killing formation laid in the desolate sea. The other formation is in the sky. In the sky. In the vast starry heavens, Dragon Emperor Shao Yun mobilized all the dragon race disciples in the various astral regions of the Great Thousand Realms to set up formation nodes. With the boundless universe as the background, the millions of stars as the nodes, and the wings of time as the formation core, Shao Chen formed the unprecedented Great Desolate Blood Dragon Formation. Once the formation is activated, the millions of stars will be driven by the blood moon and condense into an ancient blood dragon from the prehistoric era. The dragon spirit showed a disappointed expression as it spoke of Dragon Emperor Shao Yun's shocking actions back then. Shao Chen was greatly shocked, and his expression changed slightly. The Great Desolate Blood Dragon Formation used the starry heavens as its background and the millions of stars as its nodes. If this formation was activated, the size of the Great Desolate Aeon Blood Dragon that was formed would be simply inconceivable. Do you think I'm strong? However, in reality, the Great Desolate Blood Dragon Formation alone could not kill the Black Dragon King. He is the incarnation of the Heavenly Tao. He is destruction itself, the monster that the Heavenly Tao used to destroy the martial epic. Hence, the Heavenly Tao killing formation is needed. The 2 formations overlap, using the Great Desolate Aeon Blood Dragon's boundless dragon might to suppress him and then using the Heavenly Tao's killing intent to destroy him. The dragon spirit did not pause, continuing to speak. Shao Chen raised his eyebrows. Then, with a flip of his hand, Heavenly Slayer appeared in his grasp. My Heavenly Slayer saber. The desolate sea was the origin of the martial epic. The Heavenly Tao killing formation that Dragon Emperor Shao Yun laid was to gather the killing intent born of the Heavenly Tao since the birth of the epic. Coincidentally, Shao Chen's Heavenly Slayer saber could activate the Heavenly Tao's killing intent. The Heavenly Slayer saber did not kill but hurt itself. Once it was unsheathed, it would taste blood. Heavenly Slayer and the Heavenly Tao killing formation happened to draw on the Heavenly Tao's killing intent. The dragon spirit said softly, "You are not stupid. The Heavenly Slayer saber in your hand is used to activate the Heavenly Tao killing formation. The Great Desolate Blood Dragon Formation is activated by the Shuowu dynasty's Blood Dragon Cloak?" Shao Chen quickly recalled the Blood Dragon Cloak that she wore. The first time he saw it, he found it incredibly familiar. Indeed, you already know. The dragon spirit did not show much surprise on its face. After some thought, it said, Back then, Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun Dual cultivated the righteous and demonic Tao. He left a total of 2 inheritances. Naturally, one is here, and the other is the demonic Tao Hall. The 2 inheritances each control a formation and compete with each other in the future. The victor can obtain both Heavenly Slayer and the Blood Dragon Cloak, truly merging the 2 formations and becoming Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun's true inheritor. Xiao Chen could not help revealing a self-mocking smile. Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun really hid himself deeply. What's starting the Divine Dragon epic and inheriting his will? From the very start, she and I were his pawns. Only one person can obtain his inheritance. Both of us have been deceived. Xiao Chen was certain that she had not known about this either. When she saw Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun visit the ethereal immortal palace, he could not disguise his shocked expression. However, she should know more than Xiao Chen. You could have continued hiding it. Why are you telling me now? Xiao Chen asked as he looked at the dragon spirit. The dragon spirit sighed and said, according to Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun's will, when you become the Dragon Emperor, he will become the demonic monarch. Then, the protectors of the 2 inheritances will tell you the truth, letting you kill each other. The one who survives will be able to merge the 2 formations. However, even you are suspicious now. I believe that person should be suspicious as well. I cannot be certain that the protectors of the demonic Tao Hall's inheritances will not tell him the truth in advance. If he knows the truth and you do not, you will be at a great disadvantage. In the depths of my heart, I definitely hope that you, with a pure-blooded bloodline, can start the Divine Dragon epic and not a demonic Tao cultivator without a dragon race bloodline. The dragon spirit showed a guilty expression, but it still told Xiao Chen the reason. Don't blame Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun. Back then, he spent too much effort laying the 2 formations. Just as he was about to enter closed-door cultivation to recuperate, the golden dragons betrayed him and told the Holy Lord about his declining strength. The Holy Lord suddenly made a move. Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun's defeat was too unjust. He simply could not swallow this defeat, so he laid this seemingly inhumane contingency plan. After hearing the dragon spirit's explanation for Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun, Xiao Chen felt suspicious. He asked, why did I hear that Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun took the initiative to challenge the Holy Lord before being defeated? The dragon spirit smiled and said, back then he secretly laid the 2 formations and was incredibly weak. How could he be stupid enough to attack the Holy Lord? The winner takes all. Since the Holy Lord won, he naturally would not say that Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun launched a sneak attack, something so disgraceful. Xiao Chen thought about it and agreed. This explained why Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun did not attack the Holy Lord even though he had the wings of time. However, the Holy Lord is not in a good state either. Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun severely injured his main body and basically cannot leave the faux god world. In the past 50,000 years, he wanted to explore the secrets of the Blue Dragon's old lands. However, he could only materialize divine weapons to attack. However, Soul Reaper stopped him. So, that was the case. The golden divine weapons that appeared in this world in the past were actually the work of the Holy Lord. As the dragon spirit said, the Holy Lord was indeed severely injured. Now, I no longer have any secrets. I already told you everything I know. You have to start the Divine Dragon epic. You have to snatch that person's blood dragon cloak. You can activate the 2 formations that Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun laid back then only if you obtain both at the same time. The dragon spirit showed a serious expression as it looked at Xiao Chen with a grave expression. The truth was often cruel. The perfect image of Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun in Xiao Chen's heart had already crumbled. It seemed to be unexpected, but it was also reasonable. If possible, Xiao Chen would not want to face this truth. It was too depressing. Ignoring the grave dragon spirit, Xiao Chen left this place. Then he saw Soul Reaper standing on the city wall in a daze. When Xiao Chen first saw Soul Reaper, he only felt fear and horror. However, when he saw Soul Reaper now, Xiao Chen felt only sorrow and respect. Compared to Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun, the desolate slave Soul Reaper held a much higher place in Xiao Chen's heart. Without saying a word, Shao Chen arrived before the desolate slave Soul Reaper's mountain-like body. Shao Chen extended his hand. Soul Reaper seemed to sense it, so it raised its thick hand clumsily. When the two hands, one large and one small, touched each other, the cycle Great Tao circulated. Then, Shao Chen slowly absorbed the death qi in Soul Reaper's body into his body. Then, he converted the death qi into vigorous life force. Life and death cycled, materializing the power of cycles. The death qi in the desolate slave Soul Reaper vanished at a visible rate. Soul Reaper was already a dead person. Due to the death qi in its body, it could not truly die. It could only guard this secret realm in the form of a desolate slave. Bang! The instant the death qi vanished, the desolate slave Soul Reaper's huge body suddenly vanished, turning into ashes. As Shao Chen watched Soul Reaper turn to ashes, he felt deeply moved. He figured out some things. Being despicable was the pass of the despicable. No explanation would be enough. Being noble was the epitaph of the noble. There was no need to say anything. He used his life to shape a character that others looked up to. Chapter 2348. With Wu Chang gone, the Blue Dragon ancient city appeared even more empty under the blood moon. What was emptier than the ancient city was the human heart. Shao Chen looked at the blood moon and pondered for a long time, lost in thought. The dragon spirit's words dispelled many of the doubts in his heart. At the same time, he felt even more deeply moved by the word, involuntary. Dragon Emperor Shao Yun was a formidable and ambitious person. In the end, he fell at the hands of his own people's betrayal. If Shao Chen could recuperate successfully after he finished laying the Great Desolate Blood Dragon Formation and the Heavenly Tao Killing Formation, he would be able to establish a grand undertaking after he came out of closed-door cultivation. He had not expected that he would not need to use the Wings of Time to deal with the Holy Lord. Thinking about it, it made sense. With his weak body, he was able to severely injure the other party with less than half of his strength. If he used his full strength, the Holy Lord would definitely not be a match for him. While Shao Chen admired Dragon Emperor Shao Yun, he also felt repulsed by Dragon Emperor Shao Yun's plan before his death. If it weren't for him asking repeatedly, the dragon spirit wouldn't have told him the truth at all. After Shao Chen foolishly became the Dragon Emperor, he would not know that all this was part of Dragon Emperor Shao Yun's plan. The other party had already set up a plan to kill each other. Between Shao Chen and Shi, only one could live. What was even more frightening was that even when he died, he couldn't understand why he had been so focused on restoring the glory of the Blue Dragon. He did not know that he was actually killed by the Dragon Emperor of the Blue Dragon race. She should know the truth by now, right? Shao Chen wondered if Shao Chen, who knew the truth, would still say that no one in the world was his friend, as he did in the ancient Yan Emperor tomb. She thought that he was Dragon Emperor Shao Yun's inheritors, thinking that he was Dragon Emperor Shao Yun's inheritor. No matter what, they should be friends on the same side. However, Shao Chen did not know that Dragon Emperor Shao Yun already planned in his heart. The two of them would kill each other sooner or later, leaving only one alive. After a long time, Shao Chen sighed and left the land of the Blood Moon. The vast desolate sea, the origin land of the martial epic. Under the agile Blood Moon, it was bleak and gloomy. Now, Shao Chen finally understood why the desolate sea's scarlet color was so bleak, giving off an ominous feeling. Dragon Emperor Shao Yun laid another formation 50,000 years ago, gathering the Heavenly Tao's killing intent born in the martial epic into the Heavenly Tao killing formation. In the night sky, a formless killing intent spread to every corner of the desolate sea. Shao Chen tightly grasped Heavenly Slayer and closed his eyes, carefully experiencing it. The killing intent that filled the desolate sea under the blood moon was connected to Heavenly Slayer. Moments later, Shao Chen opened his eyes. Golden rays flickered in his eyes as the chaos godly eyes were activated. Suddenly he saw many strange sights that others couldn't see. Countless scarlet threads surged over from all directions, connecting to Heavenly Slayer. Unfortunately, he was unable to activate the Heavenly Tao killing formation for his own use. According to the dragon spirit, One needed to have both Heavenly Slayer and the Blood Dragon Holy Cloak to activate these two formations. If one possessed only one of them, it would be a soul treasure with no special use. It had to be said that this move was quite ruthless, forcing Xiao Chen and Shi to fight. Just at this moment, Xiao Chen frowned slightly. He sensed a dark aura containing destruction approaching. This dark aura covered the night sky. It seemed like a thin layer of fog covered the blood moon in the sky, making it much more hazy. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the next moment, a figure approached from afar, rushing over. Zhen Yuan. When that figure got closer and clearly saw its appearance, Xiao Chen felt slightly startled. This person was none other than Zhen Yuan, the one who once had many conflicts with Xiao Chen in the Grave Sea Cluster. Zhen Yuan betrayed his master and entered the demonic Tao because of Zhen Yuan. Then, he absorbed a portion of the Black Dragon King's demonic thoughts in the Soaring Dragon Great Realm's underground dragon city. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A few more beams of light flashed. Yen Songming quickly followed, arriving beside Zhen Yuan. Yen Songming hovered in the air, looking down at Xiao Chen, who stood on the Azure Mountain Town's walls. Then he said, "Indeed, as I expected, you are really here." Xiao Chen asked indifferently, "What business do you have with me?" A faint layer of black fog covered Zhen Yuan's body under the night sky, making him look unfathomable. Zhen Yuan remained silent, attracting Xiao Chen's attention even more than Yen Songming did. Yen Songming said softly, "If I guessed right, you should be going to the Divine Dragon Empire soon." Going to the Divine Dragon Empire? Xiao Chen did not have such a plan for now. He intended to go to the Golden Crow Empire to deal with Ao Jiao's matters first. As for the Divine Dragon Empire, he would go there after Ao Jiao's matters were settled. Xiao Chen's expression did not change as he replied indifferently, "Is that so? I don't seem to have told anyone that I am going to the Divine Dragon Empire." Yen Songming guffawed and said, "Why act dumb? The Purple Gold Dragon Emperor will hold the abdication ceremony 7 days from now. The disciples of the 6-colored divine dragons will fight for the position of Dragon Emperor. Qin Ming inherited the Bushin Palace's inheritance. If you do not go, the position of Dragon Emperor will definitely go to Qin Ming. The competition to become the Dragon Emperor will begin 7 days from now." This news startled Xiao Chen slightly. This news came very suddenly. It should have arrived in the past 2 days. Previously, Xiao Chen had been traveling alone and had not received any notice from the Heavenly Alliance. "What does this have to do with you? The internal affairs of the dragon race are not for you to worry about, right?" Xiao Chen did not deny it, testing Zhen Yuan's purpose in coming. Yen Songming smiled faintly and said, "Is that so? After all, I have some dragon race bloodline in my body. We are more or less related. I came here to tell you that if you do not work with me, you will die for sure when you go to the Divine Dragon Empire." This joke is not funny. Working with Yen Songming felt like a joke on Xiao Chen's part, very comical. Yen Songming retorted indifferently, "I came from afar and do not have the time to joke with you. A few days ago, you fought alone in the Yenwu dynasty and fought Yuan Zhen to a standstill in the entire Buddhist nation. He is on equal footing with Yuan Zhen's entire Buddhist nation. He might even be superior. This news has already spread like wildfire. When the martial epoch comes to an end, only a few people are qualified to start a new epoch. Everyone has to know each other's limits. Your strange strength has already caused many people to be unable to see through it. If you were to become the Dragon Emperor, I'm afraid no one would be able to stop you." Xiao Chen felt excited, feeling that Yen Songming was right. Only a few people could start a new epoch. They would definitely view each other as competitors. If Xiao Chen accidentally exposed some of his strength in the Yenwu dynasty, news of it would spread quickly. "So?" Xiao Chen asked as he looked at Yen Songming. You are a smart person. You should be able to guess what will happen later." Yen Songming smiled mysteriously, not saying anything. When Xiao Chen heard that, he could not help smiling bitterly. Given this group of people's characters, they must feel that I am too much of a threat. They are sure that I will head to the Divine Dragon Empire to fight for the Dragon Emperor position, so they might work together to lay a trap and use this opportunity to end me in the Divine Dragon Empire. Hence, Yen Songming said that if I do not work with him, only death awaits me. Those people should have communicated with Yen Songming, inviting him to form an alliance to deal with me. However, for some reason, Yen Songming leaked this information to me and wanted to form an alliance with me. Why are you telling me all this? This was the only question that remained in Xiao Chen's heart. Why did Yen Songming travel so far to tell him all this? A dim light flashed in Yen Songming's eyes as he looked at Xiao Chen. Do you know who set all this up? Who colluded with the outstanding talents of the righteous Dao and demonic Dao to kill you? Yuan Zhen. That's not right. Chu Chaoyan? Guess again. The profound heaven holy lands Wenrenyu? Yen Songming smiled faintly and said, that's not right. Ichi. After he returned to the demonic Dao palace from the ancient Yen Emperor tomb, he became somewhat strange. After he learned that you fought Yuan Zhen's Buddhist nation alone in the Yenwu dynasty, he became even stranger. Yen Songming did not know the reason either. Xiao Chen sighed in his heart. It looks like she knows about Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun's plan as well. Hence, she plans to kill me immediately. To me, I definitely do not wish for you to die just like that and watch as she covers the sky with one hand. Hence, we should work together. I will help you obtain the Dragon Emperor position, and you will help me restore the status of the Flood Dragon humans in the Divine Dragon Empire. Yen Songming continued, telling Xiao Chen his true purpose at the same time. Wrong. You just want us, the Epic Masters, to kill each other so that you can reap the benefits. Black Dragon King, am I right? Xiao Chen swept his gaze past Zhen Yuan and fixed it on Zhen Yuan, who had remained silent from the start to the end. Zhen Yuan's eyes turned pitch black. Two black dragon images swam in the depths of his eyes. Surprise flashed on Zhen Yuan's face when he heard what Xiao Chen said. He said softly, that's right, only you can be absolutely certain of my identity. After all, you personally saw me swallow the Black Dragon King's demonic sense back then. Chapter 2349. That's right. Only you can be 100% certain of my identity. After all, you saw me devour the Black Dragon King's demonic will with your own eyes. When Zhen Yuan heard Xiao Chen determine his identity, a look of surprise flashed across his face. Then he openly admitted it. You fused with the Black Dragon King's demonic will? Xiao Chen asked in a deep voice. Sort of, but that's not important anymore. You don't have a choice. Everyone knows that you will definitely fight for the Dragon Emperor title. However, once you go to the Divine Dragon Empire, only death awaits you. Zhen Yuan looked at Xiao Chen and said calmly. Yen Songming continued, work with me. Everyone is just taking what they need. Even if we take a step back, don't you want Qin Ming to become the Dragon Emperor? Xi's strength is equally terrifying now. You have no choice. Even though Xiao Chen saw through their thoughts, Yen Songming and Zhen Yuan remained fearless. He was not afraid that Xiao Chen would not agree, because he had no choice. No choice? Wrong. As long as your heart is strong enough, you can always make the right choice. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Chen suddenly attacked, sending a punch flying toward Zhen Yuan. Regardless of whether Zhen Yuan had merged with the Black Dragon King's demonic will or not, since it delivered itself to him, Xiao Chen naturally would not let it go. When he punched out, the great Tao of reincarnation circulated, and the endless power of reincarnation circulated. It gathered in the fist radiance and bloomed like an epiphyllum in the dark night, making the blood moon in the sky dim. Zhen Yuan's expression changed drastically. He had not expected Xiao Chen to suddenly make a move. With a cold snort, a monstrous demonic aura erupted from his body, and a destructive aura erupted from his body. In his eyes, there was a sky full of stars. In the vast river of stars, stars were destroyed one after another. This caused the destructive aura on his body to reach a horrifying level. It was as if there were really stars exploding in his body. However, before Zhen Yuan, who had passively received this punch, could fully extend his arm, he was sent flying by Xiao Chen like a meteor. Stop! At the side, Yen Songming felt greatly startled. Unexpectedly, the force behind Xiao Chen's punch was so horrifying. He quickly made a move to block Xiao Chen, who wanted to give chase. The will of death spread out from his body like a tide. The black aura was like liquid. The strange, evil tentacles materialized and gathered on Yen Songming's palm. Just a glance at the terrifying death intent was enough to send shivers down one's spine. He was afraid of being touched by it and could not avoid it in time. Yen Songming's Death Dao domain already reached the 9th layer, only one step shy of the 10th layer. Its lethality was extremely terrifying. Compared to other killing moves, martial techniques powered by the Death Great Dao could injure a cultivator's life force. If he was heavily injured, his vitality would be damaged, and it would be very difficult to recover. However, Xiao Chen did not fear the killing move materialized by the Death Dao domain. He raised his hand and clashed with it. Boom boom boom. The moment the two palms collided, a vigorous life force gushed out from behind Xiao Chen. At a visible speed, a vast, green grassland took form behind Xiao Chen in an instant. The grass grew long and the orioles flew. Everything was in spring. Thousands of flowers appeared in the vast grassland, adorning it with beautiful purples and reds. My death intent. Horror appeared in Yen Songming's eyes, revealing heavy confusion. Unexpectedly, the other party turned Yen Songming's vast and boundless death intent into even more boundless life force, scattering it on this desolate and dilapidated sea land. Flowers bloomed and withered in an endless cycle. Xiao Chen shouted, and the vast grassland behind him looked like a wildfire. It burned out, not leaving a single blade of grass behind. The thousands of flowers and grass instantly withered. The instant the flowers withered, Xiao Chen returned a palm strike to Yen Songming. The death intent contained in this palm strike was even stronger than Yen Songming's. Bang! Yen Songming gaped in disbelief. To think that Xiao Chen was even more skilled in the Death Dao domain than him. Xiao Chen's even more ferocious and surging Death Dao domain directly scattered Yen Songming's heavy death intent. Yen Songming vomited a mouthful of blood as he retreated in an even more sorry state than Zhen Yuan. Whoosh, whoosh. The instant Yen Songming and Zhen Yuan landed, they flew up at the same time. Both of them charged at Xiao Chen, going all out this time. Zhen Yuan drew his saber, and Yen Songming tightly grasped a black whip with a sticky black liquid around it. Dense black dragon scales appeared on Yen Songming's face. Alloy dragon armor. With a thought, Xiao Chen activated the alloy dragon armor. Then he grasped the tyrant saber's scabbard on his back with his right hand. As the two charged over, Xiao Chen drew the tyrant saber at the same time. Under the blood moon, this flash of saber light looked as beautiful as a scarlet datura flower. Xiao Chen suppressed Zhen Yuan's and Yen Songming's auras by himself. Pa! Yen Songming roared ferociously and swung his black whip in a circle in the air. It was like a thunderclap, ear-splitting and ear-splitting. As this whip swept over, it was like a phantom from hell's depths. Zhen Yuan remained expressionless, looking like a demonic Buddha descending to the world as he held the world destroyer in his hand. The dark saber light cut through the world with an irresistible force, containing a boldness that wanted to destroy everything in the world. Even so, the two still retreated before Xiao Chen's saber light. Xiao Chen's saber light seemed to surpass the limits of the epic, unrestricted by the world. It was like the horn of an antelope, untraceable. It was also like the blazing sun, its surging energy soaring endlessly. Damn it, what kind of strength is this? This is definitely not the cultivation of a nine-vein sovereign emperor. Even a faux god is only a Yen Songming said with some despair. Even when the two worked together, they were not a match for Xiao Chen. After exchanging a few moves, the two retreated. However, Xiao Chen remained unfathomable. Under the blood moon, every move he made seemed to freeze time. In the eyes of others, Xiao Chen looked magnificent, unrivaled in the past and present. After 100 moves, Zhen Yuan revealed a strange smile as he stretched out his hand and threw a palm strike at the sky. Whoosh! Under the influence of the destruction Great Dao, the boundless night sky slowly turned denser, until it hid the blood moon. Let's go. The instant the blood moon vanished, Zhen Yuan grabbed Yan Congming and fled far away. The boundless night sky lasted for only a moment. Before anyone noticed it, the blood moon reappeared. However, when Xiaochen looked around, he could no longer see Yan Congming and Zhen Yuan. Did they flee? A look of pity flashed in Xiaochen's eyes. It was not that Zhen Yuan had fled. But Xiaochen clearly felt that Zhen Yuan had not done his best. Xiaochen had not fought this battle yet, but the other party had already left. This felt somewhat unfair. An unprecedented 10-vein sovereign emperor, the cycle great Tao, and the flawless saber Tao infused with immortals, Buddhas, gods, and demons. Xiaochen really wanted to know how strong he was now. Unfortunately, this Zhen Yuan, or rather, the Black Dragon King's seal had not been broken, and his strength was not at its peak. Thus, he did not wish to fight with Xiaochen. What he displayed was only the strength of the Black Dragon King's demonic will and quintessential essence soul, not the sealed Black Dragon King's main body. At best, it can only be considered a clone. How strong is the Black Dragon King's main body? After Xiaochen sheathed the tyrant saber and calmed down, he entered deep thought. No wonder Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun, a peak expert, had to put in so much effort to lay 2 startling formations to kill the Black Dragon King. At the mention of Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun, Xiaochen recalled the arrangements Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun made before his death. Then he sighed. Now, retribution came. After she learned the truth, he actually worked with the epic masters of the righteous Tao and demonic Tao to kill Xiaochen in the Divine Dragon Empire. He raised his head and saw a glimmer of light on the horizon. Dawn was about to arrive. A vast sun was about to rise into the sky. Xiaochen's heart skipped a beat. The desolate sea had a blood moon at night and an incredibly huge, blazing sun during the day, illuminating the desolate sea all year round. The blood moon was a trap laid by Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun. Who was the one who laid the blazing sun, which was much larger than the sun outside? Yan Congming and Zhen Yuan stood side by side in the distance, still feeling lingering fear. This person is too horrifying. No wonder he did not work with me. He did not need it at all. To think that he managed to merge the life and death Tao so perfectly. That is the cycle great Tao, one of the ultimate great Tao. The cycle great Tao. There's no need to ask about the details. In any case, we already achieved our goal in this trip. Originally, I was worried that he was too weak and would be easily suppressed by Shi. Now, there is a good show to watch, Zhen Yuan said softly, revealing a playful smile. Yan Congming remained silent at the side for a long time. Finally, he could not help asking, if we let him grow, will the Black Dragon King's true body be unsealed and not be able to do anything to him? The moment Yan Congming said that, Zhen Yuan revealed a complicated expression. He sighed. It's useless. The Black Dragon King represents the end, represents destruction. Unless all the epic masters work together, we can barely put up a fight. Otherwise, everything will be for naught. When the Black Dragon King appears, it will be the end of the martial epic. Chapter 2350. The morning sun rose, and the sun rose into the sky. On the horizon, a sun that was much larger than the rest of the world shone with a dazzling brilliance. The sun shone, sweeping away the chill of the desolate sea's night. After Xiaochen took his leave of Sang, he used the Heavenly Alliance medallion to confirm the information he obtained from Yan Congming with Mu Zifeng. It's true. Jiang He already left the Heavenly Alliance and headed for the Divine Dragon Empire. The Purple Gold Dragon Emperor will abdicate the Dragon Emperor position 7 days later. At that time, the entire upper echelon of the Bushin Palace will arrive. The other super factions will come as well. What do you think? I hope that you can rush to the Divine Dragon Empire quickly. We absolutely cannot let Qin Ming obtain the Dragon Emperor position. The Heavenly Alliance will support you fully. I understand. Mu Zifeng's illusory figure on the medallion slowly faded. Xiaochen muttered to himself, thinking about something. He did not tell Mu Zifeng that he obtained the Emperor Dragon Throne and the royal genealogical record. However, it did not matter much whether he told Mu Zifeng. The Heavenly Alliance placed all its bets on Xiao Qian. It would definitely support him unconditionally. If Qin Ming successfully became the Dragon Emperor, it would be a huge blow to Xiao Qian. Xiao Qian's luck would decrease significantly. As the epoch changed, the previously boundlessly ethereal luck would become even more important. Perhaps an insignificant matter could have a major impact, causing the Heavenly Alliance to lose the competition to start the epoch. Dragon Emperor. Xiao Qian sighed and shook his head. Then he carefully put away the Heavenly Alliance medallion. Compared to the Dragon Emperor position, Xiao Qian cared more about the other piece of news that Mu Zifeng told him. The White Dragon bloodline had already confirmed that they would send Lu Riyue to fight for the Dragon Emperor position. The 6 colored divine dragons, including the Heaven Dragon Palace, were all qualified to send disciples to fight for the Dragon Emperor position. However, this fight for the Dragon Emperor position was clearly just a formality. Qin Ming, who obtained the full support of the Bushin Palace, was much stronger than the other opponents. Of course, that was if Xiao Qian did not appear. I'll go to the Golden Crow Empire first. A bright light lit in Xiao Qian's eyes. He did not change his original plan because of this sudden incident. In merely 2 days, Xiao Qian crossed the desolate sea and stepped into the Golden Crow Empire's territory. Something's wrong. The instant he stepped into the Golden Crow Empire's territory, Xiao Qian sensed a strange divine essence fluctuation in the air. The divine energy fluctuations were extremely weak. Even a regular sovereign emperor would find it hard to notice if they did not pay close attention. As a 10-vein sovereign emperor, Xiao Qian immediately noticed something wrong. Xiao Qian pondered for a moment before he looked up at the capital of the Golden Crow Empire. Opening his heavenly eye, Xiao Qian's vision extended out continuously. Cities, rivers, mountains, grasslands, deserts, all of them flashed past his eyes. We're here. After a while, Xiao Qian's gaze traversed the boundless distance and landed on the majestic capital. But just as he was about to take the next step, however, he realized that his vision was obstructed. There was an invisible force blocking his view, and he immediately felt puzzled. Withdrawing his gaze, Xiao Qian closed his eyes and tried to sense with his soul power. Once again he was blocked. Be it his soul energy or the heavenly eye, he could not see through the Golden Crow Empire's capital. There were only 2 explanations. The Golden Crow Empire's capital's protective formation had already been activated. Unless a faux god powerhouse worked together to lay the formation, it could not block Xiao Qian's vision. What's going on? No matter which explanation it was, it would be shocking. This meant that a huge change had happened in the Golden Crow Empire's capital. Xiao Qian opened his eyes, and a murderous intent flashed in them. There were many possibilities for such a huge change. However, it would be best if it was not what Xiao Qian guessed. Xiao Qian gently pushed off the ground and turned into a flash of lightning, merging into the clouds. Amidst the clouds, lightning flashed and flashed, advancing at an inconceivable speed. About 15 minutes later, electric light fell from a tall mountain peak 50 kilometers away from the Golden Crow Empire's capital. The electric light formed, and the white-clad Xiao Qian firmly landed. The moment Xiao Qian appeared, he discovered the auras of a few sovereign emperors rushing over to where he landed. The security is really tight. I was discovered the moment I appeared, Xiao Qian muttered to himself. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that something big was happening in the capital. 3 figures appeared before Xiao Qian. Without exception, none of them had the Golden Crow bloodline. The leader had white hair and a bright red mark on his forehead, showing that he was a royal member of the White Marsh Beast Empire. The other 2 middle-aged men looked very wild, showing that they were from the Heavenly Wolf Empire. The white-haired old man had a benevolent expression. He revealed a smile as he looked at Xiao Qian. Then he asked softly, "Are you entering the capital?" Xiao Qian felt suspicious in his heart. However, he replied calmly, "I saw that the capital seemed to have activated its protective formation, so I came over to take a look." Your cultivation is rather astonishing. I can sense it even if you are not from the Golden Crow Empire. However, I do not seem to have seen you in the Divine Dragon Empire before. The white-haired old man clearly noticed the dragon race bloodline in Xiao Qin, so he probed. Xiao Qin said indifferently, "He's just a mixed-blood dragon. It's normal that you haven't seen him before." The white-haired old man suddenly understood. That was not strange. The people he dealt with in the Bushin Palace were all divine dragon emperors. However, it was quite surprising. Even though this person's draconic might was restrained, his aura was outstanding and couldn't be concealed. Unexpectedly, such a person was actually a mixed-blood dragon. If you are not the Golden Crow Empire's sovereign emperor, then stay away. Don't be a busybody. The middle-aged man next to him stared at Xiao Qin and said in an unfriendly manner, "Alright, I was just curious." Xiao Qin smiled and turned to leave, disappearing from their sight in the blink of an eye. This person is quite sensible. He should be a mixed-blood dragon who has been wandering outside. He doesn't know about what happened in Bushin Palace. The other middle-aged sovereign emperor said softly. The white-haired old man's smile vanished, replaced by a ferocious expression. There was no trace of the benevolence he had a moment ago, and his gaze was like that of a poisonous snake. The white-haired old man said coldly, "We cannot be careless. We cannot make any mistakes at the crucial moment." Suddenly, the white-haired old man's expression changed drastically. After a pause, he said, "Why do I feel that this white-clad person's aura, appearance, and bloodline are very similar to a certain rumored person?" "Similar to who?" The white-haired old man was about to speak when he sensed a weak killing intent. He shouted, "There is killing intent." Bang. However, it was too late. The two great perfection sovereign emperors with only 6 divine veins could not react in time. Xiao Qin, who had quietly circled around, punched them. Supreme Dragon Fist, only I am supreme. The blue dragon image connected the sky and the ground. A vast dragon might descended together with the fist light, making breathing difficult. Before the two 6-vein sovereign emperors could turn around, Xiao Qin punched them into bits. They turned into ashes, their souls extinguished. The white-haired old man, who was an 8-vein sovereign emperor, fled far away. When he turned around and saw this scene, he gaped in shock, flabbergasted. What kind of strength is this? He managed to destroy 2 6-vein sovereign emperors with one punch. Although this was partly due to the element of surprise, the might of this punch was too horrifying. Ice Small World. Without much time to think, the white-haired old man instantly activated his 10th-layer Ice Dao domain and formed an ice small world encasing Xiao Qin. Pa! However, before the white-haired old man could show his might, a saber light flashed, and the entire small world shattered into countless ice shards. Xiao Qin broke the ice small world with one saber strike. The white-haired old man felt greatly startled, completely at a loss. He opened his hand and grasped a Bushin Palace medallion. A miserable shriek rang out. The white-haired old man did not see the white-clad old man move at all, but the saber light chopped off his right hand, which held the medallion. Xiao Qin reached out and grabbed the medallion. Then, he crushed it into a ball and casually tossed it away. "You are Xiao Qin." The white-haired old man looked at Xiao Qin in horror. Now, he finally recognized Xiao Qin and guessed his identity. "Since you know that it is me, then be more obedient. Don't think of informing the faux god experts. Tell me, what happened in the Golden Crow Empire's capital? If you don't tell me in 3 seconds, don't blame me." Xiao Qin said indifferently without fear as he stood in front of the white-haired old man. The white-haired old man clearly knew that even if he did not say anything, Xiao Qin had other means to obtain an answer from him. The white-haired old man had no choice but to take the initiative to tell the white-haired old man. Otherwise, who knew what kind of torture he would suffer? "There's no need to threaten me. The winner takes all. I'm clearer than you on the means of a sovereign emperor. I'll tell you. The Bushin Palace wants the Golden Crow Empire to offer up the Golden Crow Holy Beast as a congratulatory gift to Qin Ming, who will become the Dragon Emperor in 5 days. The Golden Crow Holy Beast will sign a contract and become his divine pet. The white-haired old man sighed softly. You saw the result for yourself. The Golden Crow Empire did not agree, so the Bushin Palace resorted to forceful means. Right now, the Golden Crow Empire's royal clan has already retreated to the Sun Hand Divine Temple. However, they will not be able to hold out for long. It is impossible for him to handle the entire Bushin Palace by himself. Xiaochen did not say anything even after a while. The white-haired old man felt nervous as he probed. It looks like you are tactful. You know that a foe god is holding down the fort and do not dare to act rashly. Since that is the case, why make things difficult for me? I've been missing for too long. If I startle a foe god, it will not be good for you. Whoosh! Xiaochen casually swung his saber and sheathed his tyrant saber. Before the white-haired old man could finish speaking, his divine seal and physical body were chopped in half. When the white-haired old man turned his head back to look at the capital, he saw Xiaochen standing upright while holding his saber. Unexpectedly, the result was the one that he did not want to see the most. A clump of golden light struggled endlessly behind him. That was the white-haired old man's soul. However, the soul contained a strand of saber intent. No matter how the white-haired old man struggled, it appeared weak and powerless, unable to change the fate of his soul scattering. From start to end, Xiaochen did not turn his head to look at the white-haired old man. Chapter 2351. As he looked at the Golden Crow Empire's capital, Xiaochen showed an unsightly expression. After noticing the strange situation in the capital, Xiaochen guessed that the Bushin Palace was targeting Little Yellow Feather. Who would have thought that the worst outcome would really be predicted by him? Although a pure-blooded holy beast was still young, it would be a great weapon at this crucial juncture when the epic changed. If Xiaochen ignored Little Yellow Feather and used a secret technique to catalyze it, overdrawing on its life force in exchange for the strength of an adult golden crow, it would be simply unimaginable. That was simply unimaginable. In a battle against the other sons of epics, they would occupy an enormous advantage. The Golden Crow Empire would definitely have a foe god guarding the capital. Its luck would be second to none among the 8 great empires. However, the Golden Crow Empire would not be able to resist when the other 7 great empires worked together. The foe gods had already worked together to seal the entire capital with a barrier. As a result, Xiaochen had no idea what was happening inside. Breaking the barrier would not be too difficult for a 10-vein sovereign emperor like Xiaochen. The difficult part was that it was impossible to break the barrier without alerting a foe god expert. Xiaochen did not know how strong a foe god was. Xiaochen could not be sure if he could fight a foe god with his current strength. After thinking for a while, Xiaochen gave a simple report of the Golden Crow Empire's situation to Mu Zifeng. Don't act rashly for now. I'll get Swearin Ji and the other doyens to help you. With your current strength, it is still not time for you to face a foe god. How long do I need? Half a day is enough. After putting away the Heavenly Alliance medallion, Xiaochen sat cross-legged on the summit and thought to himself, half a day. Can Ao Jiao really wait half a day? What if the Solar Divine Temple falls in half a day and the Bushin Palace's people want to snatch Little Yellow Feather away? Given Ao Jiao's character, she would definitely fight with her life on the line. No, I can't afford to gamble. Compared to Ao Jiao's safety, Xiaochen would rather face a foe god himself. He could not let the past repeat itself. Ao Jiao had already died once in the Sky Dome realm when she was helping him with his heart tribulation. Foe god, let me experience the strength of a foe god. Xiaochen shouted and grasped his saber hilt. Then he swung his hand, and the tyrant saber came out of its scabbard again. The flawless saber Dao, which surpassed the epic, materialized thousands of saber lights when driven by the cycle Great Dao. Then, a boundlessly resplendent saber light rose behind Xiaochen. The dazzling saber light spread out in circles and overlapped with each other. It was as if another sun had risen behind him. In the vast Golden Crow Empire, the hundreds of millions of commoners and cultivators scattered across the empire's territory all witnessed this shocking scene. Suddenly, a blazing sun appeared in the sky. The two suns competed with each other's brilliance, and for a moment, it was impossible to tell which was the real one. However, this phenomenon only lasted for an instant. Just when everyone thought that they were seeing things, a voice suddenly rang out. In a flash, he entered the capital. The four corners of the capital, which seemed to be normal from the start, suddenly changed. Then, a barrier of light suddenly appeared and pressed down, sealing off the entire capital. This made the vast and majestic capital look like a birdcage, firmly locked in. Boom! The blazing sun in the sky smashed into the capital with the momentum of a thunderbolt. In the next moment, the ground trembled. Terrifying shock waves erupted above the capital. The shock waves spread for millions of kilometers. The instant the shock waves shattered the tall mountains under Xiao Chen's feet, Xiao Chen leaped into the air and landed on the majestic city walls of the capital. Xiao Chen broke the barrier reinforced by a faux god with one saber strike. He used an absolutely tyrannical and ferocious saber strike to forcefully break it, not using any tricks at all. Strong winds buffeted Xiao Chen's clothes as he stood on the city wall in his white robes. Xiao Chen looked down at the entire capital. The originally prosperous and flourishing capital had already turned into rubble. Thousands of kilometers of rubble could not be seen. A capital that had existed for a long time was destroyed just like that. It did not get destroyed by Xiao Chen's earlier saber strike. Instead, it got destroyed in the battle before Xiao Chen arrived. Clang, clang, clang. The sounds of fighting rang out endlessly. The intense battle came from the distance. Xiao Chen turned his head to look. His vision peered through the dust and saw two faux god experts fighting on a tall mountain in the city. Below, many sovereign emperors fought each other in an extremely intense battle in a completely intact, empty land. It was the Solar Divine Temple. The faux god experts fought above the Solar Divine Temple. The Bushin Palace's sovereign emperors were below. They had already broken the Solar Divine Temple's formations and charged into the temple to fight the final battle. Xiao Chen could sense countless gazes in the Golden Crow Empire's capital, both in the open and in the dark. Countless gazes looked at Xiao Chen, either filled with doubt or confusion. This humble one is Baiju. Might I ask which faction's faux god you are from? Why are you interfering in the private matters of my Bushin Palace? Just as Xiao Chen sized up the surroundings and prepared to head to the Solar Divine Temple, an old man landed on the city wall in the distance. This old man wore gray robes and had a pale complexion. There was a blood mark on his forehead. This was a faux god expert with the great desolate Ian White Marsh Beast's bloodline. Baiju looked at Xiao Chen, feeling puzzled. He wondered which faction this faux god was. To think that he was so young. However, Baiju only sized up Baiju for a while before feeling even more puzzled. Why does he not look like a faux god? There is no divine nature at all. Then what about the earlier saber strike? Xiao Chen did not answer. He noticed that the other party held a crystalline pagoda radiating silver light in his left hand. As the other party spoke, he silently circulated his divine energy. The barrier that Xiao Chen broke earlier was slowly recovering. It looked like it was going to envelop the Golden Crow Empire's capital again. Xiao Chen felt excited. It looked like this old man was in a rush to seal off the capital again. Xiao Chen thought about the faux god experts fighting in the sky above the Solar Divine Temple. Xiao Chen immediately understood. The silver pagoda in the old man's hand had the effect of isolating the nation's protective formation. The protective formation could draw in the spiritual energy of the entire Golden Crow Empire's capital. If Xiao Chen was suppressed and could only draw in the capital's spiritual energy, the formation would be useless. Xiao Chen looked around. Indeed, in the Solar Divine Temple, the many sovereign emperors that had already charged into the Solar Divine Temple were chased out. The Golden Crow Empire's sovereign emperors fought even more ferociously. Given this, as long as Xiao Chen delayed this faux god and prevented him from raising the barrier again, he would not have to worry. There was no need to worry about Ao Jiao and the others in the Solar Divine Temple. When the Heavenly Alliance experts arrived, the Golden Crow Empire would have survived this crisis. Trying to act mysterious, Baiju finally confirmed that Xiao Chen was not a faux god. Seeing that Xiao Chen still did not answer, he flew into a rage. Bai Ju waved his hand and threw a palm strike at Xiao Chen. Immediately, Xiao Chen felt that hand cover the sky, cutting off his connection with the world. The entire world turned pitch black. The world started rejecting him, and unprecedented loneliness surged over. Xiao Chen felt startled. What kind of move was this? He had never heard of it before. However, although Xiao Chen felt shocked, he did not panic. He was like a saber abandoned at the darkest edge of the world. However, this saber was unprecedented. Even if the world abandoned it, its light would not be shrouded by darkness. Even if the world abandoned it, its light would not be shrouded by darkness. Whoosh! Xiao Chen sent out a saber light. The instant the saber light flickered, the dark world regained its color. Then, the Golden Crow Empire's capital reappeared bit by bit. Xiao Chen had returned. Crack! Xiao Chen chopped the gigantic palm descending from the sky in half. However, the huge impact still knocked Xiao Chen into the air, shaking his blood vessels and shattering his internal organs. The divine seal in Xiao Chen's soul pool was like a candle flame in the wind, flickering like it would be extinguished at any moment. How terrifying! Even though Xiao Chen blocked the killing move of a faux god, the shock waves were still fatal. When a faux god ignited their divine flame, a casual strike of theirs would be supported by the faux god flame. While severely injuring the physical body, it would also attack the divine seal. If Xiao Chen was not careful, he would turn to ashes. Xiao Chen circulated the cycle Great Tao, using the cycle of life and death to continuously negate the shock waves. By the time Xiao Chen landed, the swaying divine seal in his soul pool had already stabilized and slowly burned. You truly live up to being a faux god expert. This Xiao has experienced it firsthand. Xiao Chen said sincerely as he looked at Bai Ju. A faux god expert was indeed incredible. If it were any other nine-vein sovereign emperor, Bai Ju's palm strike would have been sufficient to turn that nine-vein sovereign emperor into ashes. Even Xiao Chen felt somewhat lucky. When isolated, Xiao Chen did not panic or feel anxious. He did not hesitate to draw his saber. Otherwise, if he delayed for even a moment, the consequences would be dire. This Xiao... A brilliant light flashed in Bai Ju's eyes. After some thought, he said, "You are the epic successor that the Heavenly Alliance nurtured, Xiao Chen." "That is me." Haha. Bai Ju could not hide the wild joy on his face as he guffawed. "I can wear out iron shoes in fruitless search, only to find it by chance. You are really bold to dare to face a faux god expert alone. If I kill you, I can forget about my divine beast." Chapter 2352. Bai Ju, who unexpectedly discovered Xiao Chen's identity, rejoiced. Unexpectedly, such a good thing delivered itself to him. Right now, Xiao Chen was the Bushin Palace's greatest enemy. Between Bai Ju and the Dragon God Crown Prince Qin Ming, only one could truly become the Dragon Emperor. If Xiao Chen killed Bai Ju, Qin Ming would inherit his luck. The Bushin Palace's chances of starting a new epoch would increase significantly. In the end, Bai Ju came to the Golden Crow Empire to hunt Little Yellow Feather to increase Qin Ming's luck and strength, increasing his chances of starting a new epoch. However, the effect was far from being as fast as killing Xiao Chen. Die! Bai Ju attacked again, still using only one hand. He held the silver pagoda in his left hand, wanting to prop up the formations sealing the capital again. The world sank into darkness again. When Xiao Chen looked around, everything he saw and felt was pitch black. The city walls, the capital, the land, the mountains, the sky, the white clouds, everything that Xiao Chen saw vanished. It was like he was isolated in another world, not tolerated by the world. There was no place for him in this vast world. The sense of isolation in Xiao Chen's heart surged even more ferociously than the first time. Again? This time, Xiao Chen did not feel surprised when Bai Ju used the same trick, forcing him into this strange space again. Xiao Chen raised his hand and swung his tyrant saber again. All sorts of colors immediately appeared in this world. Xiao Chen's sealed senses and vision recovered. The sense of isolation from the world no longer existed. Whoosh! When Xiao Chen looked up, an ancient finger descended from the sky. The finger descended like it was trying to kill an ant. Xiao Chen felt a vast and boundless pressure. After experiencing it once, Xiao Chen was no longer as nervous as he was the first time, so he dodged in advance. Whoosh! Xiao Chen's figure turned into a lightning bolt, and a resplendent saber light descended. My divine pressure, how can you dodge it? Bai Ju felt shocked. To think that Xiao Chen dodged this attack. This was simply unimaginable. No sovereign emperor had ever been able to dodge a foe god's attack. After lighting up the foe god flame, one would be able to understand the nature of the world. Within a certain range, one would be like the creator of the world. It could perfectly merge with the world and release divine pressure, sealing off a sovereign emperor's senses and making the world reject the other party. If one were to advance further and become a true god, this space would be comparable to the divine kingdom. However, there were no true gods now. There were only foe gods, and they could no longer materialize the divine kingdom. Even so, the divine pressure of a foe god expert was unfathomable to a sovereign emperor. With the six senses sealed, there was no way to avoid a foe god's killing move when one's soul energy, vision, hearing, smell, and touch were all rendered useless. But now, this iron rule had been broken twice by Xiao Chen. You overestimate yourself. After the shock, Bai Ju calmed down. After all, Bai Ju was a void god realm expert. With a raise of his hand, he neutralized Xiao Chen's saber strike, which could kill a 9-vein sovereign emperor. Then he used 2 fingers to clamp down on the saber. Xiao Chen, who was in the air, immediately felt his saber completely restrained, unable to advance or retreat. Bai Ju smiled coldly and said, "You really startle me. To think that you can dodge my killing move from my divine pressure. Unfortunately, you do not know how horrifying a foe god is." Ding. A flame appeared in Bai Ju's eyes, and a vast divine might erupted from his body as he flicked his finger. The tyrant's saber immediately trembled endlessly. The force traveled along the saber, sending Xiao Chen flying back like a cannonball. Clang. Xiao Chen, who knelt on one knee, stabbed the tyrant's saber into the ground and stabilized his body. Blood leaked out of a corner of Xiao Chen's mouth, but his eyes remained calm, not showing any fluctuations. Bai Ju felt startled. His earlier attack looked casual. In reality, he had already used 50% of his strength. However, the other party was not severely injured. Bai Ju's expression was as calm as still water, and his eyes were deep like the starry sea. It was like he was evaluating his own strength. Could he be testing out how strong a foe god is? Damn it! Shouldn't he be scared out of his wits when he sees a foe god? Bai Ju seemed to feel that his pride as a foe god was being mocked. Rage surged in his heart, and he attacked again. This time, Bai Ju pressed forward, and a vast and boundless divine might pressed down like an avalanche. Then, he threw a palm strike at lightning speed, a palm strike that could shatter stars. Before Bai Ju arrived, a sonic boom already rang out in the air. The sound was ear-splitting like thunder, scattering the clouds for 5,000 kilometers around and revealing the boundless starry heavens dotted with stars. Xiao Chen smiled faintly, not clashing head-on with Bai Ju, dodging for now. Xiao Chen's primary goal was to delay the other party and reseal the capital. His secondary goal was to verify how strong a foe god was, to see if he could defeat a foe god. The two immediately fought on the ancient city walls of the capital that had stood for tens of thousands of years. The intensity of the battle was no weaker than the fight between the two foe gods above the solar divine temple. "Your Highness the Divine Daughter, it is Xiao Chen." Hao Kai, who was responsible for protecting Ao Jiao in the distant solar divine temple, finally recognized Xiao Chen. Earlier, Hao Kai saw someone break the seal with one saber strike. Hao Kai also thought that it was a foe god senior helping. After observing for a long time, he was shocked to discover that it was not a foe god. It was not a foe god. It was Xiao Chen. What is he doing here? That idiot. Why is he fighting a foe god? Compared to Hao Kai's excited expression, Ao Jiao showed a worried expression, continuously grumbling. In her anxiety, she did not even realize that she had called Xiao Chen an idiot again. Hao Kai asked, "Divine Daughter, should we go and help?" Right now, the nation's protective formation is fully operational. That group of people from Bushan Palace can no longer charge in. Ao Jiao rejected with a calm expression. Don't give him trouble. He took the risk to fight a foe god so that the nation's protective formation could operate perfectly. If we go and help, wouldn't we be wasting his efforts? Furthermore, if they got captured, it would be equivalent to harming Xiaoqin. Hao Kai asked, "What should we do then?" Ao Jiao sighed softly. He probably does not know that we still have a backup plan and can leave. This idiot, he always likes to do things his own way. However, since he made a move, he definitely has a way to protect himself. 4 hours passed quickly after the intense battle on the city walls. Bai Ju launched a frenzied attack against Xiaoqin. Aside from the silver pagoda in his left hand, he used nearly everything else he had. However, despite the other terrifying attacks, Xiaoqin did not suffer any severe injuries, aside from being in a sorry state. He was like a lone boat drifting in the wind and rain. The strong wind and heavy rain battered him, but he did not capsize. It looks like foe gods are only so. Xiaoqin said coldly as he held up his saber and looked at the furious Bai Ju, who could not do anything about it. When Bai Ju heard that, he smiled instead of getting angry. Is that so? In front of me, you don't even have the ability to retaliate. You can only retaliate a few times. Occasionally, you can't even injure a strand of my hair, yet you dare to mock foe gods as so? Indeed. Even a fatal attack against a 9-vein sovereign emperor would not be able to injure you. Without igniting the divine flame, no matter how strong my killing moves are, they would not be able to injure you. However, I do not only have these ordinary killing moves. Is that so? In that case, why don't you make a move and show me? Bai Ju narrowed his eyes slightly, smiling coldly in his heart. He liked the arrogant Xiaoqin. Only Bai Ju knew how strong a foe god was. The more Xiaoqin underestimated him, the happier Bai Ju was. The more arrogant Xiaoqin was, the easier it was for him to reveal openings. Bai Ju's repeated attacks failed to severely injure Xiaoqin, which made him look forward to Xiaoqin revealing openings in his arrogance. As you wish. The immortal vein formed by immortal burial lake among Xiaoqin's 10 divine veins stirred. An ethereal, fairy-like air appeared on Xiaoqin's body. The vast soul energy sea in Xiaoqin's soul pool surged with strong waves. The divine lightning talisman formed by the immortal epic's 10,000 tribulation divine lightning broke out of the sea. Once upon a time, the divine lightning talisman could injure a great perfection sovereign emperor with just the tip of the iceberg. Now, Xiaoqin looked forward to seeing what kind of strength this divine lightning talisman could erupt with when it was completely brought out. This is, the expression of Bai Ju, who was waiting for Xiaoqin to reveal an opening, changed slightly. He sensed something strange. By the time Bai Ju sensed something wrong and wanted to dodge, it was already too late. The divine lightning talisman came out of Xiaoqin's forehead. With a flash of light, it struck Bai Ju. The instant the flower blooms, it illuminates 3 lives. Before the divine lightning talisman could take effect, Xiaoqin drew Heavenly Slayer and used the Cycle Great Tao to execute the 3-life flower. The past, the future, and the present. 3 blue lotus flowers, 3 figures, and 3 saber lights pierced through Bai Ju, who was severely injured by the divine lightning talisman. However, this was not enough. Xiaoqin gritted his teeth and roared, "Flowers bloom and flowers die, the cycle never ends." Previously, when Xiaoqin only grasped the state of cycle, he could execute 3 saber strikes with the 3-life flower. However, now he grasped the Cycle Great Tao. There were more than 3 saber strikes for the past, the future, and the present. Flowers bloomed and withered, and killing intent filled the air, filling the entire world with a somber and cold killing intent. 1,000 lotus flowers bloomed around Bai Ju at the same time. 1,000 heavenly slayer sabers containing the heavenly Tao's killing intent pierced through his body at the same time. Today, Xiaoqin wanted to kill a god. Chapter 2353. Flowers bloom and die, reincarnation never ends. Shao Chen first used the Thunder Divine Talisman to severely injure him. Then, he used the Cycle Great Tao to activate the 3-life flower and sent out 3 saber strikes. 1 saber strike each pierced through Baiju. However, this was still not enough. If he wanted to slay a deity, he had to go all out without holding anything back. In the time it took for a spark to fly, he pushed the Cycle Great Tao and his Saber Tao to their limits. Shao Chen's divine energy and soul energy were instantly drained. After he finished executing the move, he was already exhausted. If he failed to kill Baiju, as long as Baiju was still breathing, he could easily crush him to death. Thousands of lotuses gradually overlapped with each other. Wisps of space-time ripples appeared around Baiju's body like water ripples. Shio. When the 2 figures completely overlapped, Baiju coughed out a mouthful of blood. He looked at the wound on his chest in disbelief. In his world, only a second had passed. He only felt that Shao Chen had swung his saber. He simply could not understand how his physical body could be struck by more than 1,000 sabers in an instant. The scariest thing was that every saber strike was lethal. Every saber strike contained a flawless saber intent that surpassed the epic and the inextinguishable power of the cycle of seasons, continuously attacking Shao Chen's faux god flame. If he had not been careless and allowed the Thunderbolt Divine Talisman to be heavily injured, he would still have had strength to spare even if he had been pierced by 1,000 blades. However, at this moment, the resplendent golden faux god flame in Shao Chen's soul pool was riddled with holes. Wave after wave of saber intent infused with the power of cycles surged at the dimmed faux god flame. No matter how he struggled, he could not salvage the situation. He could only watch as his faux god flame slowly weakened and slowly extinguished. "I will kill you." Baiju's eyes were filled with despair. He roared and ran toward the exhausted Shao Chen. At this moment he only had one thought, and that was to drag Shao Chen down with him before he died. It was like the final radiance of a setting sun, and its divine might was vast and mighty as if it had returned to its peak. Shao Chen's expression was relaxed as he looked at the other party indifferently. Boom! Baiju barely managed to take a step before his body exploded with a loud bang. A brilliant flame soared into the sky. The light from the flames shone in all directions, emitting a light even more dazzling than the sun. However, although this light was resplendent, it gave off the feeling of a hero past his prime and a beauty with white hair. A sorrow that even the heavens could not suppress filled the world and permeated everyone's hearts. This made the 2 sides fighting in Sun God Temple in the sky above and on the ground below all stare blankly, stopping their movements. "This is, a faux god has fallen." What? Right after the 2 faux god realm experts spoke, the resplendent flame appeared. It turned into a blood-red color and exploded with a loud bang. Along with the dusky sky, a blood moon descended. How is this possible? The Martial God Palace's faux god expert showed a numb and sluggish expression. Although in this era, it was impossible to become a true god. However, as long as one ignited the divine flame and became a faux god expert, they would not suffer from disease or calamity. It was impossible for a faux god to die. Even if they encountered great trouble, faux gods would be able to protect themselves. But today, a virtual god had actually been killed. The Sun God Temple faux god realm expert looked at Shao Chen, who was on the city wall. Shock filled his eyes. Clearly, he was startled as well. Whoosh, whoosh. On the city wall, Shao Chen had just collected Baiju's silver pagoda when 2 figures descended before him. The newcomers were the 2 faux god realm experts of the Heavenly Alliance, Swearin Ji, and the previous alliance chief, Hua Tianyang. "You killed this person?" Although Swearin Ji did his best to suppress the fluctuations in his heart, he could not hide the shock on his face. Shao Chen nodded. "It was a fluke. If not for his carelessness, I would not have killed him." He was speaking the truth. If the other party had not received the divine lightning talisman head-on, he would have died. If the other party had not taken the divine lightning talisman head-on, even if Shao Chen executed blooming flower destruction and endless cycle, he would not have been confident of killing the other party. Or rather, if the divine lightning talisman had not severely injured the other party, Xiao Chen would not have risked everything and forced himself into a desperate situation. In any case, an opportunity presented itself to Xiao Chen. Then, he took the risk and succeeded in killing a true god. Hua Tianyang sighed softly. As he looked at the blood rain falling from the sky, he said in frustration, "Even a faux god fell. This era is really coming to an end." Suiren Ji and Hua Tianyang exchanged glances. Although they were not the ones who died, the two felt desolate and sorrowful. The era that belonged to them would eventually come to an end when the martial epic's luck ran out. Even as faux gods, they would not be able to avoid death. God conferring pagoda? Hua Tianyang did his best to perk up. When he saw the silver pagoda in Xiao Chen's hand, he revealed a shocked expression. Xiao Chen stepped forward and handed the silver pagoda to the other party for him to observe. It really is the god-conferring pagoda. After fiddling with it for a while, Hua Tianyang smiled and said, "This is a rare ceiling-type soul treasure. It can be considered one of Bushin Palace's trump cards." There were offensive soul treasures, like the Heavenly Slayer saber in Xiao Chen's hand. There were also defensive soul treasures, like the alloy dragon armor Hua Tianyang wore. There were also offensive and defensive soul treasures, like Xi's blood dragon cloak. However, ceiling-type soul treasures were very rare, extremely rare. Suiren Ji glanced at the Bushin Palace faux god who had already fled. After some thought, he said, "With this god-conferring pagoda, we can give it a try and see if we can't keep him here." Hua Tianyang handed the god-conferring pagoda to the other party and nodded. "Try to keep him here." Whoosh! After receiving the god-conferring pagoda, Suiren Ji turned into a beam of black light and gave chase in the blink of an eye. A strange look flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. What is the origin of this god-conferring pagoda? To think that Senior Suiren Ji is confident of using this pagoda to seal a faux god? Hua Tianyang thought for a while before replying. It can't really be considered an origin. However, in Suiren Ji's hands, it can indeed bring out greater might. We can give it a try. As Hua Tianyang spoke, a few figures flew over. They were Ao Jiao, Hao Kai, and the Solar Divine Temple faux god. Hua Tianyang recognized that faux god and introduced him to Xiao Chen. This is the Solar Divine Temple's high priest. He can be considered a veteran faux god. Many thanks to Alliance Chief Hua and little brother Xiao Chen for saving my Golden Crow Empire's calamity. After the high priest stepped forward, he immediately bowed to express his gratitude. He even gave Xiao Chen a few more glances. Clearly, the high priest had already learned of Xiao Chen's identity from Ao Jiao. After a simple exchange of pleasantries, Xiao Chen sent a voice projection to Hua Tianyang. "Senior Hua, go ahead and discuss proper matters with the high priest first." Hua Tianyang glanced at Ao Jiao and entered deep thought. Then he smiled faintly and said, "High priest, now that the Golden Crow Empire has thoroughly offended the Bushin Palace, my Heavenly Alliance is willing to protect the Golden Crow Empire with just one word from the high priest." The high priest hesitated somewhat. If he agreed, it would be equivalent to the Golden Crow Empire joining the Heavenly Alliance. Hua Tianyang smiled and said, "High priest, is it convenient for us to communicate in private?" "Sure." After the high priest left, Ao Jiao relaxed visibly. Then she chided, "You idiot, you scared me to death earlier. How could you face a faux god alone?" Xiao Chen felt warmth in his heart. He smiled but did not reply. "You are still smiling? I will hit you." Seeing that Xiao Chen only knew how to smile without replying, Ao Jiao pretended to be angry as she stretched out her hand to slap him. Who knew? Xiao Chen did not dodge. Ao Jiao just stretched out her hand and touched Xiao Chen's face. The atmosphere immediately turned somewhat strange. Hao Kai showed an awkward expression as he performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Your Highness the Divine Daughter, I'll return first to deal with the follow-up matters of the Divine Temple." Ao Jiao pinched Xiao Chen's cheek, blushing slightly. Then she turned her head to the side and said, "Just this once." "Got it." Xiao Chen stretched out his hands and gently pinched Ao Jiao's cheeks as he smiled faintly. Clearly, Ao Jiao was caught off guard by Xiao Chen's sudden attack. Her heart thumped wildly, and she asked only after a while, Why are you here in the Golden Crow Empire? I came to see you. However, I happened to run into this matter. Where's little yellow feather? Why don't I see it? Xiao Chen appeared very natural. Back when he saw Shi Wangmu turn to dust, he had figured out many things. Treasure the people who love you and don't make them cry. At the mention of little yellow feather, Ao Jiao's expression recovered to normal. She said angrily, Those people from the Bushan Palace are too much of a bastard. To think that they want to capture little yellow feather and make it Qin Ming's divine pet. Little yellow feather is currently absorbing the ancestors' inheritance in the solar divine pool. When it comes out, I will definitely go with it to meet that dragon god crown prince. Coincidentally, I want to go as well. Let's meet up in the Divine Dragon Empire 5 days later. When Ao Jiao heard that, her expression changed slightly. She knew that Xiao Chen would definitely go to the Divine Dragon Empire. However, based on Xiao Chen's words, it seemed like he still had something to do and did not intend to go with her. You still have something to do? Xiao Chen nodded. After some thought, he said, With the Heavenly Alliance's protection, the Bushan Palace will not dare to seek trouble for the Golden Crow Empire. At that time, you can go with the seniors of the Golden Crow Empire. I will meet up with you on time. A reluctance to part appeared in Ao Jiao's heart. However, she understood Xiao Chen the best. She knew that he would not change his mind once he made up his mind. Be careful. I'll wait for you, Ao Jiao said with a grave expression. I'll be fine. Xiao Chen thought for a while. Now that he could even kill foe gods, going to the Starry Heavens Dragon Prison to rescue the previous generation Heaven Dragon should not be a problem. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.